Can they hear me? Can they hear me live out there? Next beat. That ain't the beat I want to do.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat. Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope. That's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up.
Oh, word.
Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder than my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, nanny ghosts, Velas, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working or hustling to get it, or get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater. Watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college port to bang out, cause you don't wanna get caught at mom's crib or at Vaughn's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. 80s, baby.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 88 of the X-Cast. We've got a jam-packed show for you tonight. I'm your host, Josh Houslander. It's day 5162 in the search for Tim Shovelday. Adam Hernandez is with me as always. We have an exclusive interview with TriForce Johnson tonight, and some other people are going to pop in and talk with us as well, I hope. And we're going to uncover some of the things that are going on right now in the world of competitive gaming and that subculture and everything that encompasses it, Twin Galaxies, all that good stuff. But let's jump into it. Adam, we only got a few minutes here before we delve into the world of competitive gaming. But hey, some stuff happened with your buddy Donald Trump today. You want to talk about it? I'm not even going to jump in. But I know you probably got some stuff to say before we talk about your favorite video game stuff.
Look, it's nothing surprising here. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders will get up on the podium in a couple of days, whenever it is they do a press conference, because it's few and far between nowadays when the White House decides to partake in something like that. But they'll put it on. It'll be the spin cycle will be heavy at the White House this week. What is it? Is it light or slow, medium, fast? Then Truth Post, right?
Yeah.
Look, Donald Trump today, it was a bad day for him. He had his, as much as he wants to try and distance himself from Paul Manafort, he was his campaign chairman. He was convicted on 8 charges of tax fraud and bank fraud, and he still has a DC trial to contend with. The other 10 charges that that he was being accused of and indicted on today, the jury, there was a mistrial. Mm-hmm. So the prosecutor is going to decide, whether or not they want to retry him on that. They don't have to. I mean, Paul Manafort's already going to go to prison for the rest of his life. So at that point, they'd be spiking the ball. Right. But like I said, he has the DC stuff to worry about next, where he's going to be on trial for failing to register, I believe, as a foreign agent. Which seems crazy. I mean, the campaign chairman of the Donald Trump campaign for president of the United States may be convicted on charges of failing to register as a foreign agent, which is just one of them. Anyways, and then the even bigger news, if that wasn't already big enough, his former personal attorney and fixer, quote unquote, Michael Cohen, was pled guilty today to tax evasion, bank fraud, and campaign finance violations, which Michael Cohen said himself he was directed to pay off by a candidate running for federal office.
Yeah.
I think we know who that candidate running for federal office is.
The one thing I don't understand about all this, they're not really going to be able to prove, or Donald Trump wasn't really I believe that he probably paid off hookers. I'm not saying that. I
Well,
mean,
Rudy Giuliani already admitted that he paid them off.
right. I mean, and that's fine. Nothing illegal about. Well, technically, prostitution is illegal, but these aren't technically hookers. I guess nothing illegal about shooting. Plenty immoral, but very immoral, but nothing illegal about paying off chicks you cheated on your wife with.
No, there's nothing illegal. About that.
And that's not illegal. It's
rich guys do that all the time.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's
It is illegal though to use it to influence a campaign.
Right, and I mean because of John McCain and his awesome campaign finance reform laws, which are goofy at best. There is some illegality here, but they're not really going to be able to prove that a rich guy like Donald Trump didn't use his own funds for that, are
Look,
they?
You are dealing with an attorney that taped his own clients' phone calls without knowing.
I mean, wouldn't Donald? I'd like to think. Maybe I'm wrong here.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, maybe I'm totally off here, but I would like to think that Donald Trump, being as rich as he is, in the situation he's in the position he's in, would be smart enough to say, hey, you make sure that when you pay off all these broads I nailed, you use my money, not
what happened?
Not the campaign money.
Well, what happened?
Because wouldn't you do that? Wouldn't you be smart enough to make that call, or at least be able to cover it up or divert it? I would think so.
We're going to see what happens with all of this.
Hey, Adam, I'm actually one of those. As much as I claim to be as much as I say I'm a libertarian and verging on anarchist practically, or at least have been accused of verging on anarchist in the past, as much as I'm so for just freedom and doing whatever you want, and as much as I hate laws, I'm actually one of these crazy moral people that I actually disliked it back when Bill Clinton was getting BJs in the Oval Office, and I actually still dislike it because consistency is a key to logic and reason. I actually dislike it that Donald Trump cheated on all his wives a bunch of times and paid off, skanky broads. Sorry for throwing that out there, but paid off skanky broads to keep their mouth shut. So I actually have a problem with this anyway. I admit it. I legitimately have a problem with the way Donald Trump is. I don't think it's illegal or anything. I don't want to lock him up, but I certainly don't want to vote for him.
Well, I mean, he was named under oath essentially as a co-conspirator to all of this. That's what he was. That's what happened today. Donald Trump was accused of being a co-conspirator on a felony charge.
Sure.
The president of the United States, let that sink in, everybody, was accused of being a co-conspirator on a felony charge. Yep. This is going to, in part, put Michael Cohen through a plea deal behind bars for 4 to 5 years.
Sure.
Again, people need to let that sink in a little bit here. Would Donald Trump have been elected president if this did in fact come out? Yeah, he probably would have. Based off of everything else that we've seen come out, yeah, right. He probably would have been elected president. But you know what? Everybody out there screaming that right now, that's not the point.
Right.
That is not the point to all of this. This is a president who dubs himself as the law and order president, going out there and thinking that he's above the law.
Right.
Thinking that nobody can touch me. I can do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want, because I am Donald Trump and whatever. Nothing applies to me.
No, I mean, and that's definitely how it seems. Listen, real quick, Adam, I briefly today was listening to conservative talk radio. I turned it on and we had some callers. I'm not throwing any host under the bus here, but I heard a caller call in. I'm not even going to say what show it was on. And I heard this, I actually heard this more than once. I heard this 2 separate times on 2 different shows, this basic idea. And it was, hey, we were told it didn't matter when Bill Clinton did this by the Democrats. We were told that it didn't matter when John Edwards did stuff like this by the Democrats. Okay, if you want to use that as an excuse to show the bias and the hypocrisy of the political duopoly, I'm with you. I'm with you right there. But lest we forget, Bill Clinton was impeached.
Mm-hmm.
And John Edwards, last I checked, after those accusations came out,
Fell off the face of the earth.
yeah, he didn't win shit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not sitting in jail or anything, and I'm not saying he should be, but John Edwards, yeah, as you put it perfectly, fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's worthless. He went from being like, wow, everybody loves John Edwards to, wow, what an absolute piece of garbage that guy is.
Yeah.
You know, so again,
He's asking Howard Dean right now if he can get him tickets to the Democratic National Convention.
right, exactly. And I mean, so, you know, lest we forget, these guys faced the music too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Slick Willie found a way to get out of it for the most part, but only 2 presidents in U.S. history have been impeached. Bill Clinton was one of them. And you can say that it was for lying under oath, because it technically was, and it's, quite frankly, it's bullshit that Bill Clinton lied under oath, but let's all be real here. He was impeached because he was banging interns. He was an immoral individual. And that's what brought about his thing. They used perjury as the excuse, because perjury is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
They used perjury as the excuse to impeach President Clinton. And they very well could use campaign finance reform as the excuse to impeach Donald Trump for his immoral acts.
Josh, it looks... We'll get back with
Yeah,
this.
maybe we'll pop back into this and the other thing, you know, afterwards. But we do have some scheduled, you know, produced segments here. TriForce, is this you? You're on the air on the EmpireMedia.com on the XCast.
No, sorry, Josh, it's Phil.
Oh, Phil, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? You're a little early. You're a little early.
Sorry, it
early.
did, it say Australia call on the line
and you couldn't hook me up with that intel. Thanks, Paul Manafort.
Well, I'll
hey,
get
Phil,
off the
how
line
you
then
doing?
and leave it
No,
open.
hey, Phil, just hang with us, buddy. All right, if you could, and we'll get TriForce on in a minute. Yep. We're gonna, if you don't mind, we're gonna maybe kind of finish up our discussion here, and then hey, if TriForce doesn't come in right away, maybe we'll even have you chime in, because I know you love Donald Trump, right, Phil Day?
No, what? Sorry.
I know you're a big Donald Trump fan, right, Phil?
Oh yeah, huge Donald Trump fan. Yeah, like it's second to sort of I don't know, being kicked in the nuts, I suppose. Yeah.
You like Donald Trump almost as much as I like cricket and soccer.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the best way of putting it. Yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with soccer, Phil. I am a soccer fan myself. Or I'll say it, and it's true. I'm a football fan myself. Josh isn't down with the calling it by its correct term there, so that's okay though. I'm not a fan.
I'm not a big football fan, like soccer fan. Australians, it's quite big here. I enjoyed playing it as a kid, but it's the dives I can't handle. The fake falling. I just think I mean, these guys who play soccer it's incredibly skillful sport. They're incredibly athletic, amazing abilities. But until they get a third umpire in to get rid of these pathetic dives, I can't watch it.
They have beautiful abs, too, soccer players. You gotta love their abs. No, you're right.
Anyway,
the United States is such a great country that they changed the name that the rest of the world changed the name of their favorite sport just to please the people that hate it. I mean, you got to appreciate that. I mean, they changed the name from football to soccer just to try to get the Americans on board, and we still hate it.
Well, same here. It's largely called soccer here.
Is it? Oh, okay.
I think Australians Yeah, because of different football codes, like you have, of course, the NFL, which is used as football there, and Australia has.
You have Australian football too.
We have rugby league and rugby union are often referred to as football, and we have Australian rules, which is football. So how many footballs do you need? But yeah, I know what you're saying. Well, the weird thing is, a lot of the people in Australia refer to American football as gridiron. You know, I don't know where we got that from as a kid, but it was referred to as gridiron when we were kids. Yeah.
Well, it's called the grid. It's loosely called the gridiron here too. So, I could see where you get it from.
No, it's true. I actually, you know what? I actually kind of forgot about that, to be honest with you, Phil. The Australian rules football, and I don't know much about it, but Australian rules football, from what I've watched, actually seems really cool. I actually really like Australian football.
Well, I live in Melbourne, which is kind of the centre of Aussie rules. Because it used to be called the VFL, the Victorian Football League, and that's the state of Victoria. And the MCG is here, which is it's the 10th biggest stadium in the world. You know, like I think the two top, I think they're in, I might be in China or South Korea or India or somewhere. Anyway, and then the rest are in the States. But most of them only average about 100 to 120,000. So at a weekend game of AFL, they'll get 60, 70, 80,000 people. It's huge here. And the demographic is very broad. You'll have grandmothers taking their grandchildren. You'll have groups of women going to watch it, and you'll have, you know, young guys. It's a very broad. And I've taken, when friends come out from the US, I take them to a game. I'm not a big fan of it, but I like going to it because it's a massive oval, because you're playing on a cricket oval, and there's heaps of players on the field, like heaps. There don't really many rules. I don't really understand the rules. It's all rugby league, you know.
Sounds like
quite weird to watch. But yeah, when you get here, Josh, we'll go to a game. I'll buy you a sausage roll.
Isn't it true though? Like cricket games they can last for like days. I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, they can go for the maximum is 5 days. 5 days it can go for. Yeah.
That sounds.
But they usually
terrible.
finish in 4 days. Yeah, that's Test cricket, and it's a series they play. You know, they play 5 of those tests. They go on and on. But yeah, cricket's if you're not, I mean, it's one of those things. If you're not introduced to it, but I've had friends who've come out here, like from Canada and the US, who have really got absorbed into it. They just loved it. You know, it's a whole drama that goes on for days. Like it's about the pitch, it's not the grass, and it's about the ball, and it's about the weather. It is quite a remarkable game, but I can see why people hate it. You know, you know. It's not that I think that. I mean, I like to joke. I think I wrote on Facebook, which is what Josh was commenting, and I wrote something like, you know, cricket is evidence of a god. Or discover cricket and discover yourself, things like that. I don't really mean it, but it is quite a unique kind of game. It's quite an interesting game, but it's not. I was talking, you know, I've spoken to people about it, like, and they like to compare it to baseball, and there are similarities. But cricket, where the batsman stands, which is different to baseball, but the batsman is playing in the middle of the field, so they have to be able to play shots at 360 degrees around them. So the ball can be bounced. You can throw, you know, the ball can be, they call it bowling, but basically pitched at their head or at their legs or at their body or on either side of their legs, or, you know, low or high. There's no sort of zone that you can bowl what's called a wide, where it's out of reach for the batsman. And if that's thrown, then it doesn't count. It's hard to get into the rules, but the bowler has to bowl it again. Yeah, I'm reluctant to go into the rules because it'll just get too strange because of the terms that are used. You know, leg buys and overs and wides.
Did you say something about a bowl?
Yeah, the bowler. Right?
Yeah, the bowler. The bowler. What you call the pitcher in cricket's called the bowler. He bowls the ball, which
you know that, Josh?
So he pitches the ball. Yeah, but they basically bowl at the same speed that pitchers throw. I don't know what that is in miles, but they're bowling at 150 plus kilometres an hour. But they're allowed. You're allowed to bowl at the head of the batsman.
To you Americans, 150 sounds fast, but it's really not.
No. Phil, keep in mind we failed at the metric system here in the United States. So.
Yeah, you know, Phil, I know everybody loves the metric system where you're from, but there's 2 types of countries in the world. ones that use the metric system and ones that have gone to the moon. That's
Yeah. Yeah, and one of those voted for Donald Trump.
Hey, touche.
hey, guilty, brother. Listen,
Yeah,
Phil.
yeah, I mean, I think there's a a lot of people get sort of oddly nationalistic or patriotic about the metric system and stuff. You know, like of course it was the French who invented the metric, and we sort of grew up with both. Like my father was my parents' generation, the baby boom generation. That's all inches and yards. So I still know inches and yards. Like we use it for description of height, like 6 foot 2 inches and things like that.
Right.
But it's not used in distance in kilometres and speed anymore. We use the metric, but so it sort of moves in and out. Like I think I can see it doesn't bother me either way. But the one thing I don't get about the US, and I really don't understand why.
Phil, I admit to the audience here, we are killing time because we're having trouble connecting with TriForce. But we do appreciate the cricket talk. It was pretty interesting, actually. TriForce, is that you? We got you finally?
Yeah, you get
Looking at going, oh, hang on. Did
35. So it's calling the wrong number.
Oh, okay. TriForce, we got you now, though?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, hey, welcome. TriForce Johnson, you are on the line. Phil Day is with us as well. I'm Josh.
Hey, Phil,
this
what's
is
up?
I'm trying to get Phil back on now, but go ahead.
Okay, you're on live on the XCast with me and with Adam Hernandez, our producer. TriForce, sorry about the technical difficulties we're having. I think it was something on both our ends here. But how you doing, buddy?
Today is my wife's birthday. I spent today literally going over the politics of Twin Galaxies and refreshing my skills in Contra because I'm going to have to create a video performance. So I've informed Twin Galaxies directly, Dave Hawksett, and I'm going to say this live on the thing. So I played the game again. I've done a run. And my first run, I got 9,958,000 points. And it was a terrible run. Had bad cycles and the whole 9 yards. So, but the fact that I could get 9.9, and I recorded it, just to let you know. But the fact that I even got that, and I'm so rusted after 10 years, I'm going to take a day off this week, and I'm just going to play the game all day, and I'm going to record a full game from normal to hard. And I went on the Twin Galaxies forum, and I'm looking at the analysis that they're giving. And one of the things that really pisses me off about this young generation and these little snobby-nosed kids, because they have TSA tools and all that stuff. You know, back in our day, Josh, we didn't have that. We had to find that out based on instinct and just guesstimates and stuff like that. But these guys have machines doing it all for them. And they're sitting there talking about, oh, this doesn't work, or that doesn't work with this multiplier times this times that, whatever. And they're like, math doesn't lie. And they're right. Math doesn't lie. Math doesn't have any mistakes. People applying math makes mistakes. Math is not the problem. It's the people. So you get the wrong calculation, and that's it. And I literally told Dave Hawksett that, you know, it is unfortunate, but I have to do this because if I don't, they're going to provide him with inaccurate information. It's not that they're lying. They're just going to provide him with inaccurate information because they don't have the total information about Contra. And I made it that way. I left it purposely that way. I did not want them to figure it out from me. Go find it out on your own. Make your claims, your assertions, all of that, so conjecture to everything that they want to say. Let them say it all. And then I just go, well, so this is what you missed. This is what you missed, and this is what you missed.
Right. And
when they go,
TriForce, let's lay some groundwork for people who aren't quite totally familiar with this situation, because you have been placed under some. I like what you said about math. That actually does make sense, and I'm not really a big fan of the backwards hyper-analyzation of some of these systems that have happened in the past, especially when you're talking about old games that, quite frankly, are archaic when compared to the new technology we have. And I don't always think that they're compatible with some of the things people lay out. But that's just my opinion. Let's talk about let's set the groundwork here. and let's talk about
All
some
right.
of the basic stuff, because not everybody listening is going to be fully up on what's going on with your situation. TriForce, you are a multiple video game world record holder. You are one of the people that have come out in the beginning of esports before esports was esports. And you are now under fire, much like Bill Mitchell has been in the past, much like Todd Rogers has been in the past. You are under fire, and you have accusations of bribery being levied your way, which is that's a hefty allegation. And you also have allegations of cheating. And I know you've come on the show to try to set the record straight. So you're talking about your Contra score now, and we definitely want to get to that. But let's talk about some of these accusations. They're saying that you bribed refs. Now, let's talk about that, because it's not really your scores that are being in question here, but the method.
No, so what happens
tell us the story here. Tell us your side.
This is what happens. So they opened up a dispute about me last year. They said that I played a game, Black Tiger. They said it was my arcade game. I've never owned an arcade game in my life. They said I had an arcade. It's Patrick Scott Patterson. I'm name dropping. Patrick Scott Patterson said, yeah, I got some arcade game called Black Tiger. It was mine, like it's been in my house, which that's not true. And that I shipped it to FunSpot, and it was a unacceptable, blah, 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 whatever. And I played, and you can't get a score on it. It's false. It's a false record. A bunch of people did the dispute, opened up the dispute. So what they didn't know is that Gary Vincent was the one who had to pick up the machine from a California distributor. So you see how this works now? The truth comes out now. And Gary Vincent was the one who actually set the dip switches in front of Walter Day at a live event at FunSpot, which had to set the game. We came to find out that it actually wasn't a Black Tiger machine. It was a Black Dragon machine. So it was a Black Dragon machine. It's a Japanese version of the American version of the game, but the subtitles were set on, so nobody knew. And then in the Japanese version, you can get that many points. What they didn't know, they thought Royal Lance, or I call him Royal Lance Eustache, or Todd Rogers was the referee for it. What they didn't know, it was Walter Day who refereed the game. So they made their assertion that I cheated. You can't get the points. TriForce is a liar. Debunked. All right. Went after Todd, a Gorf score. Todd didn't even know his Gorf score was being gone after. So I had to defend Todd's Gorf score for him behind his back. He didn't even know. And I had to call Walter and say, they're talking about a difference between the ships versus the last digit of the number. What happened here? So someone literally went back to 1982 or the 80s and got an actual digital spreadsheet of the actual score. And then they went to Replay magazine and they got that score there. And so I said, okay, so these are the guys that actually had the score. So how did it get into Twin Galaxies database? So it was adopted by Walter Day's administration, Twin Galaxies. And I asked Walter, well, why is there a difference in score? So Walter found out that actually the error was already made, and he had actually edited it and fixed the typo in that blue book, the video games and pinball encyclopedia, the blue book that was made by Walter. It was actually edited in there. So Walter had to write a letter apologizing that a lot of scores that were adopted into the Twin Galaxies database had to undergo a new audit in the 21st century. So not everything is 100% pristine. He doesn't have the manpower, and he doesn't have the resources. So there are a lot of records in the database that are not 100% accurate. And since that time, he's been feverishly trying to get an administration big enough to help him fix the database, because the database started from hand and pen. So it started from hand and pen and human memory. So
all that was available at that point back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Walter wrote that as an email, he put it in the Gorf thing. You know what people said? They asked David Hawks, how can we believe that's Walter Day's email? And David Hawks is like, I vouch for it. And he's like, yeah, David, I understand you vouch for it. And it's not that I don't trust you, David. It's just I prefer to see it for myself. So what this shows about the community doesn't respect any authority, because they don't think David Hawksett or Jace Hall is the authority. They literally believe they're the authority, and that David Hawksett and Jace Hall is doing them a service. So they belly ache and they cry and they complain and they make all this noise about whatever. So that was that. Then they went after Todd's Dragster and then they went after Billy. And they literally told, when they beat Billy in the verdict, they literally said, TriForce, you're next, like literally online. And I'm like, how can you guys just say that like openly online? You do know that this is like collusion and conspiracy. Like, you can't tell me I'm next and then come after me because you're showing me your motive. You're not coming after me because you legitimately think my record is bad. You just want to remove me from Twin Galaxies. This is public. Twin Galaxies actually knows this. They know I have enemies coming after me like this, but they're turning a blind eye to it. They're like, oh, well, TriForce, we're only going to pay attention to technical data. And I'm like, but this technical data is being brought up by people who have an agenda against me to remove my score. And you're taking technical data from these people who are like, you're next. The data is corrupt. The data you're taking in is biased. It's corrupt. You're not going to get an efficient well, we got the new TSA and they're looking into the code. What does the code have to do with the strategy of how I played the game? The strategy is no longer a secret. Everyone knows. They're telling you the code. What if they input the calculations wrong to come up with a number to justify their assertion?
TriForce, may I ask you a question that I admit,
sure.
I fully admit that what I'm about to say is tantamount to a shot and calling somebody out because Adam and I have been caught in this crossfire in the past. Now, at this point in the world of Twin Galaxies, even the people that agree with him from time to time, can anything Patrick Scott Patterson said in the past, can anything that man says be trusted? I mean, I have no problem saying this because he's called out me personally, even though we were at once on very friendly terms. He's called out Adam Hernandez, my co-host, who he's never met and knows nothing about.
He will call out any...
Okay, hang on, TriForce, because a lot of people in the industry agree with him on certain things. And people line up with him on certain things. But those are the same people that on other issues will call him out for being completely phony. So, and this
why do they listen to him?
Right. Why does anyone listen to anything the man says when quite frankly, I mean, like I have offered, I've had a lot of people on this particular show talk about, that I've had many people on this show about this thing, and I've never had anyone that thinks Patrick Scott Patterson is anything less than a fraud and a liar. So I would love to have somebody on the show. This is just, goes out to anyone. I'd love to have somebody on the show come on and talk about how PSP is somebody that we can trust. So, do you have any comments on that, TriForce?
Well, one, I don't know PSP like that. I've had a few run-ins with PSP at E3 or whatever. His point of view is that I'm a snob. I look down at him. I don't understand why. I focus on my business. He's upset that I don't pay him attention. And as a man, I'm a man, he's a man. And by him even saying that to me, I just go, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Because, that's ridiculous. Like, a man going like, you're not giving me the same type of attention and respect I give you. What? Like, the hell? There's no cursing on your show, right?
No, you can curse. We're on the internet, man. You can say whatever you want.
That sounds like a bitch ass. Who the hell? Which man says that to another man? Listen, if another man's not paying you attention, keep it moving. Only a bitch ass does that. And I don't mean bitch in the sense of a female. I'm talking about like a sissy. Only a sissy does that. Like, why do you care? Why are you seeking validation from me? I don't seek validation from you. I'm my own man. I validate myself. If you're not giving me attention, I keep it moving. I don't complain to you about, hey man, listen, I'm writing you emails, I'm messaging you, and you're not contacting me back. Like, what's the deal? Like, this is not disrespectful. Huh? Okay, now, let's say you want to voice that to me privately in a message. Okay. And I go, well, look, I'm doing me, you do you. Mind your neck. I'm not going to go and make posts on Facebook about it so I can get other people to agree and click the thumbs up button so that I can feel better because I'm insecure. That has nothing to do with those other people, right? And why am I seeking social validation? This is crazy. And this is the type of person Patrick Scott Patterson is. Anyone will tell you, I don't talk about the guy. Go on my Facebook wall, go on my Twitter, go on my YouTube. This is the first time I'm ever speaking about this guy in public on social media. And do you know why? Because the man is accusing me of bribery. And that's a very serious accusation.
Let's talk about that accusation. We could talk about how Patrick Scott Patterson is a bitch ass all night, but that isn't really what we are here for. Let's talk about your accusations of bribery, because those are some very serious accusations.
Okay, so the situation is this. It's as simple as this. So my first ref, we're going to call him Ref X, and there's a reason why I don't provide any information. I want those guys to go digging. So, because I already have all I have all the actual information. The whole full facts is right here on my desk. And I'm like, all right. So you give them a little bit. They bite because they're idiots. They got to bite. I got to prove TriForce wrong. And they'll go looking for stuff on a wild goose chase that doesn't exist. When they find out that they have no information, then because of their hatred towards me, they're compelled to make up stuff. So they'll make up stuff and try to bend this information to tie into that information so that people will be like, when they put the story together, the narrative kind of makes sense. And people go, oh man, what type of person is that? Until, like much the Contra 3 thread, I just come and go, oh no, that, this, that. And then everyone goes, oh, people who don't want to get caught up in it, they just turn their back and quietly walk away because they're like, wow, this guy got blown up. I'm not involved in this. And they walk away. So in the situation with Patrick Scott Patterson, he's the one going around telling people that I paid off refs, when in reality, I tried to tip a ref.
Tell us, give us the specifics on that. Because you are being accused of bribing refs to what? To give your scores precedence, or to give your show. What exactly are you being accused of?
Either give my scores precedence, preferential treatment, force invisible scores in, meaning submitting scores by word of mouth and paying off refs to put it into the database. That's what I'm being accused of, right? So here's how he even knows I even tried to tip a ref. So my first ref X, when I started, which is not Lance Eustache, not Walter Day, not Todd Rogers. So let's get those three guys out of the way right now. Mm-hmm. It's actually a neutral ref, got nothing to do with anything. So when I first started, I came in and I started doing a whole bunch of records on VCR tapes.
Throw a year at us here.
2008.
Okay.
The beginning. My first year in Twin Galaxies. So I started dumping in tapes. Boom, 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 boom. And I used to call the guy all the time. Hey, man, I'm going to send you another tape. And he's like, all right, man, no problem. And then one day, I got into a little discussion with him. It wasn't a spat. I could tell he was kind of upset. So I said, hey, I'm going to send you another tape. I think you're going to love the run. And he said, TriForce, can you slow down on the submissions? Because you're kind of overdoing it. I'm going to show you how much I overdo it. And this is actually one story Patrick Scott Patterson actually told the truth about. I sent the guy 5 tapes at one time. 4 of the tapes were sandbagging tapes. So it was I'm not going to say the game. It was a game where it had a low score, a higher score than that, a higher score than that, a higher score than that, and then the 5th tape was a higher score. And I sent him the tape, and I said, hey, listen, if the guy beats my score currently right now, just look at the tape number 5. If he beats that, tape number 4. If he beats that, tape number 3. If he beats that, tape number 2. Beats that, tape number 1. And he's like, yeah, TriForce, but like, come on. Like, he's like, I got a lot of work. I got my 9-to-5 job. Then I got this I got to do and whatever. So I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I thought this was your job. And he's like, no, I do volunteer work. This is like the whole Twin Galaxies refereeing tapes. This is a volunteer thing. I don't get paid for this. So I was like, what? So I was like, I thought that was just in the movies. He's like, no, that's not a King of Kong thing. That's in real life. Like, no one gets paid for that. So I was like, oh, my bad, dogs. And he was like, yeah. So he's like, I'm getting a lot of tapes from you, and you're just one person. And like, do you know how much tapes I'm getting in from other people? Not to mention Robert Merchek's leftover tapes and so forth that had to be distributed throughout everyone. Whatever he didn't do that they had left, they had to distribute those out to other people, other refs, so that they can ref. So he's like, it's a lot of work, and that takes and cuts into his personal time. So I said, damn, that sucks. So I was like, yo, man, I really apologize. I don't mean to like come down on you, like just keep bombing you with these tapes. So I said, yo, let me give you a token of my appreciation. I'll hit you up with a little money. So he's like, I appreciate it, man. And to be honest with you, I could use it because things are hard, but I don't think I can accept it. So I'm like, why? I was like, what the? I'm like, why can't you accept it? It's not like you're working for a company and you're getting paid and I'm trying to throw you some money under the side. I'm like, it's a tip. He's like, yeah, but like, I got to find out. So I said, all right, inquire for me, please. Find out if you can accept the tip. And I'll hit you off. So he went to High Tier Ref X. We'll leave it like that because he says, please don't mention the ref's name. The High Tier ref's name. Let them do the digging because he says when they figure out who it actually is, he will then come on out in the public and he will straighten people out for trying to implicate him as a corrupt ref. Because by saying I'm bribing a ref, you're literally saying the ref is corrupt. And the reason why they say bribery because they think, oh, it's Lance, so we can get TriForce and Lance. So they just throw bribery out there. But they don't know it is a well-respected, powerful ref long before Lance.
And Lance, for those people who don't know, is part of your Empire Arcadia crew, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was at one point a referee at Twin Galaxies. But
correct.
This is not the ref you're talking about.
Nope. So then after that, he
TriForce, can we clarify one more thing too? So
sure.
You're saying that you offered a tip after the score was already verified.
No. See, this is the misconception here. I didn't offer the tip. The tip had nothing to do with scores. I was tipping him because as a human being, he's doing so much work and he has so much pressure on him. He has a 9-to-5 job, then he has to do that. He don't have no time to himself. I was tipping him as a human being. He has nothing to do. I don't need to tip him to do my scores. He has VCR tapes. Why would I need to pay him for? Listen, verify my score. That's your job, whether you volunteer or not. So why do I need to? What? Okay, if I have a tape that has my record on it, and it's legitimate and it's valid, and Twin Galaxies now has the tape, so they have to double authenticate. Why am I? What's the tip for? Or no, that's not what's the tip. Because according to Patrick Patterson, what's the bribe for? What is the bribe about? What do I benefit? Okay, I'm submitting a score via tape. It's all legit. I'm going to give you money. What's the benefit for me? I'm just giving him money. This doesn't make any sense. So me tipping him was because I was like, I was under the impression that this was his job and he was being paid for it. So get to work. That's how I'm looking at it. Get to work. That's your job. But when he corrected my misconception of his entire situation with Twin Galaxies, I felt, first of all, I felt like a jerk because I felt I was imposing my entitlement on him. Like, okay, you're a ref. I'm sending you a tape. Get to work. And that was just wrong. So that's why I apologized to him at first. And I said, and I wanted to, what's the word for this? Show him something. I want to show him my
token of appreciation.
Yeah, my token. First of all, this is what Patrick Scott Patterson doesn't understand. I'm not even the only person who's ever done this. That's the funny part. There have been many other people who have actually tried to tip refs, give refs presents and gifts as tokens of appreciation for their volunteer service to Twin Galaxies. But he chooses to pick out mine and say, oh, it's bribery. Which he goes, I know he's sitting there to himself saying, well, who else? Well, guess what, Pat? At a PSP, when you're watching, 2 of these guys are coming on the show to talk about how they try to show their token of appreciation to referees. So hold that, you bitch ass. So in any event, so I'm not the only one. So when it gets to the big refs, all the big refs did was tell them, nah, you can't tell TriForce that you can't accept the tip because we don't want to set a precedence for people giving in tips and stuff like that. Because then it would create the platform for bribery.
Here's where I kind of find this kind of amusing is that you never actually gave a tip, correct? Yeah, I mean the referee turned you down.
The referee didn't turn me down. His superiors turned him down.
Right.
So he told me no, so I couldn't do it.
So the referee did the right thing. and followed the rules, even though he could use some extra cash. And you were
even though he wasn't getting paid by Twin Galaxies in the first place.
And what I find amusing, TriForce, what I find amusing about this,
say anything. The ref could have just took the money, and that'd be no one would be the wiser. We wouldn't even be talking about this. So the fact that the ref went and asked permission, how can someone who asks permission to bribe someone? Who does this? What world do we live in? You people who are listening to Patrick Scott Patterson, what the hell? Who asks for permission to bribe someone? This is crazy. What is wrong with you people?
Okay,
are you not putting two and two together?
What I'm finding strange about this, TriForce, is that okay, so right or wrong, your score is verified already. You offer to give someone a tip. They ask their boss, "Is it okay if I take a tip?" That referee says they tell him no, it's not okay. So the referee comes to you and says, "No, I will not accept your money." Hang on. You comply. But what I find strange about this is that not much long after that, because I was working for Twin Galaxies, at this point, not much long after that, after the Pete Bouvier administration is done, Twin Galaxies then switches to a new program where the gamers have to pay to have their scores verified, which in essence is exactly what you were offering to do at the time, is pay a little bit of cash to have your score verified. So Twin Galaxies actually adopts this very idea after you do this, and then they're going to go back in time and accuse you of bribing.
The reason why they adopted it is because, like I said, I'm not the only one who tried to tip reps. Many reps have actually, when they had their big reps meeting, have spoken to their superiors and told them people try to tip. And from a business standpoint, Twin Galaxies is like, people are willing to tip or pay for this? Yes. And it's just pure business sense that we should adopt this. It's not like Twin Galaxies is charging and then we go, I don't know if we should pay. The people are offering. So of course they would adopt that strategy or whatever that style of business. It makes sense. If people are willing, why not? Only an idiot would not do it. So yeah. So and when you see, you can't. There's no way to make anyone believe that TriForce's one incident of trying to tip a ref made Twin Galaxies switch over to a pay for ref thing. It had to have been multiple significant. In fact, I would like to, if you could bring John on or Phil on, so they can tell you their stories about what happened with them in terms of their show of appreciation for the reps. So that
we will do that. We'll do that very shortly. Okay. TriForce, would you say, and I'm just, because this is something, I'm going off something you kind of vaguely alluded to in the past, that, when Twin Galaxies is an American organization and they go off kind of American ideals, but you're from Jamaica. And in Jamaica, the idea of tipping someone because they're just simply being nice or because you appreciate what they did is kind of more commonplace. Am I wrong? I mean, am I right? I mean, that's kind of more part of your culture to you're happy with somebody and you're generous and you're willing to tip. Am I wrong to say that?
Because we're whether you consider us a third world or a developing country, because we understand the Jamaican dollar is weak here. So everyone, $1 US is 130 something Jamaican dollars, and because we don't make a lot of money down here, we show our appreciation by giving a little bit extra more. So for us, Jamaicans are actually Caribbean, not just Jamaica. People in the Caribbean, I go downstairs, I go buy a bushel of scallions. They charge me $100. I give them 150 because they work hard. This is the little that they make so that they can survive. Farmers who go out into the country and they it's a leg cart. They have to push the cart by leg with literally like almost a ton of vegetables on there, and they have to try to sell it $50, $100. This is in American money. This is like 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents that they're making to sell these so that they can make a living, pay their rent, pay their light. So in our culture, you help your people out. So anybody, it doesn't matter whether you're Jamaican, American, European, I don't care who you are. If I get the instance that you're struggling, I'm going to help you out. That's just it. If I have it, if I have to give you A, I'm going to give you A plus because that's just our culture. Ask anybody. People in Florida do it, and because Florida, you don't count Florida as American B. Florida is an attached island to the United States. It's a Caribbean country, but yeah, this happens in Florida. This definitely happens in Florida. You ask anybody in Florida, they'll tell you, yeah, they do that.
And
the Mexicans do it.
You know, TriForce. That's why I brought this up, just because I think sometimes people kind of forget in the world of Twin Galaxies that we, well, I still say we because I used to work there, but I'm not connected to Twin Galaxies anymore. But many in Twin Galaxies forget that it's not Twin United States. We they cater to the whole galaxy, right? That's the point. So I just thought that was an important point to bring up. It's there are cultural aspects, and if somebody doesn't understand something, then perhaps that's worth noting.
Well,
can you get John Klinkle on? I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong. Can you get John on the air? Is he going to call in?
I'm having some trouble. We're having some trouble
Okay.
getting multiple lines on here since TriForce was the guy that obviously was front and center tonight.
We're having some issues.
Yeah,
we have people calling from different countries. Here.
The lines aren't open right now. It says since we are talking with TriForce, and he was the front center tonight.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry. We'll have the lines open after we're done speaking with TriForce.
Okay. So unfortunately TriForce. We're probably gonna have to talk to you and then get some people on. So,
okay, fair enough.
So
I wanted to make a correction about something.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Because I just want to be accurate 100%. It was told to the ref to tell me not to tip the ref, and the ref can't accept the tip. So it wasn't the ref coming down and saying, "No, TriForce can't accept the tip." He was like, "I was told to tell you I cannot accept the tip, and please don't try to tip any ref." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I just wanted to let it be known I was told not to. And the whole thing about this whole bribing. So here's my question. So if I'm bribing a ref, why wasn't the ref terminated? Why wasn't I removed from Twin Galaxies for the actual ordeal? Why wasn't this documented, stated, and brought up? Since Patrick Scott Patterson knew, right? Why didn't he go, "Hey, man, we got to get rid of this guy. This guy's trouble. You can't be sitting here trying to bribe refs."
He was a referee at the time, too. Patrick Scott Patterson was absolutely a referee.
2008? He was? Oh, okay. So why
I do not know when exactly PSP became a ref, but I mean he was a referee though, is all I'm trying to say.
But the head administration knew, and also for other issues they knew. So I don't see. I was just told not to do it, and I was like, okay, that was it. Let me keep it real with you. I was like, okay, well then that means I save my money, put my money in my pocket. So what's the problem here? Mm-hmm. So I went back my business regarding that. The ref still had to verify the scores that I was sending in anyway. Didn't change anything. Nothing changed. So that my thing with the whole bribery situation, it doesn't affect me, and I'm gonna tell you why. In order for it to affect me, Patrick Scott Patterson would have to go and make an actual case of bribery. He would have to actually go to Twin Galaxies and dispute it. I know it. So if I see somebody post on Twin Galaxies to create a conduct of behavior dispute against me, and they bring up that whole tipping the refs thing, I'm not going to I'm not going to compete against or combat against a person who's physically writing up the dispute. I'm literally going to go through Twin Galaxies, literally, to get straight to Patrick Scott Patterson, period. And then what's going to happen is he's probably going to be like, yeah, bring it. Well, I'm like, okay, I'll bring it. And it's going to get back to the ref. The ref who told my ref to tell me no. And then when it gets back to that, both those two refs are going to look at him and be like, Yeah. So why are you going around making trouble when it was never an issue? And when that happened, the appropriate actions will be taken against him. But him and all these other social media personalities online making videos about me being a briber or a con artist, it's nothing new. So it will not change the Western opinion about me, and that's fine. My content is not for the Western audience. The stuff that I do in gaming isn't for the Western audience. What I do to help Twin Galaxies is to help preserve the historical continuity of Walter Day's Twin Galaxies and help usher it into Jace Hall's version of Twin Galaxies, which was always what Twin Galaxies was striving to be. That's it. So outside of that, I'm not trying to diss America. Great country, help me get my start and everything. My focus is to go back home to my own people back in Africa and help spread esports, spread the history of esports there with Walter Day and all this other stuff and Twin Galaxies and all the champions. That's my job. So him getting Western public opinion to dislike me, okay, so what? I don't care. This got nothing to do with me. I don't even live in America. I live here in Jamaica, so who cares? So I don't care who he gets to dislike me or say fraud this and fraud that, and that's nice. He can get away with that. That's all I got to say about that situation. It is not a situation until he makes it legal. And the moment he tries to make it legal, then I get medieval on his ass.
TriForce, do you feel that there's a witch hunt in progress in the current subculture?
Oh, of course. No, of course. There's a definite, especially for me, it's definitely a witch hunt. There is no way Twin Galaxies can sit here and say there isn't a witch hunt when people are typing in Twin Galaxies threads on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. You're next. Let me read you something from one of PSP's nice friends, Catherine Despera. She says, and I quote,
our buddy here in the XCast. We love Cat Despair here in the XCast.
So she says, this is what she says, and I'll send you this so that you can. This is a reply to one of Tipster's videos. This was sent to me by one of my agents in the fields who keep an eye on the foolishness for me. The scores of one particular old guard clique, which includes Todd Rogers, Billy Mitchell, and TriForce, were all fabricated, embellished, and or awarded world records status without proper evidence. Many times their world records were created, fabricated, or encouraged press so the clique could manufacture a new celebrity that they would take out to gaming events and soak up more appearance fees. Now, you know something? I wish she was telling the truth on that. I have never been paid an appearance fee. I would love to have an appearance fee. I have never been paid an appearance fee. So I don't know what she's talking about. She's probably talking about Todd. She's probably talking about Billy. But I have never been paid an appearance fee. But whatever. All right. She says then, that in and itself is alarming. Airfare, hotel, appearance fees. How can I be getting airfare, hotel, and appearance fees when I got stuck in France? First of all, I had to beg people to help me get to France. Then I got stuck in France. I had to beg her I'm literally asking her for money to help me get out of France. She's one of the people that I asked. So, how could she accuse me of that when I'm like, but if I was getting all of this, then why am I asking you for money to help me get back to where, I don't get this. This doesn't make any sense. I spent $7,000 last year that we had to crowdfund from me playing video games for 4 months to get me and my team to the Video Game Hall of Fame, which was all from donation. The Video Game Hall of Fame didn't pay me to appear. So what is she talking about? Let's continue. She said,
TriForce, one thing if I could add real quick.
Yeah.
I don't know about all this stuff. I'm just an observer who worked for Twin Galaxies on and off 2 separate occasions. But the only thing I know, and I'm not here to verify anything or to misconstrue anything, but the only thing from my personal opinion, and this is nothing more than my opinion, the only thing that you, Todd Rogers, and Bill Mitchell all have in common is I've seen all 3 of you play video games, and you're all really effing good at them. That is the only thing I've seen. Now, I have no idea if
according to Catherine Despera, you're a liar.
Yeah, no,
'Cause,
I was a liar according to Catherine Despera long before I made that statement. But you know, and a bunch of other things. I'm a misogynist and a sexist and a terrible radio show host, according to her as well. But you know, I don't really see where these accusations are coming from, and I don't really get it. So according to you and according to many, you're the latest victim in the witch hunt. So after they crucify you, who's next?
Go back.
Okay,
go
what's
back.
up?
I am the latest opponent. No victim here. They will never be able to get a victim. They will never be able to make me a victim. See, what they don't understand is that unlike Billy or Todd, and this is not a slant against them, these are old men. They're way past their prime, and they have families and other things of importance to take care of. I'm a poor black dreadlock Rastafarian man in Jamaica. My living is made by playing video games. If I stop playing video games, I can't feed my new family that I've been adopted into in Jamaica. That's how bad. My mother's dead. My father literally was just diagnosed with Parkinson's disease yesterday, which I have to find a way to up to America to go see my father in the hospital. So I have no family other than my family here in Jamaica. I live off the donations that I get for playing video games online. So my Empire Arcadia Discord and YouTube community literally keeps me afloat. You snatch them from my back, I fall down and I die. So these guys who are attacking me, they're treading on some real dangerous territory because this is a lawsuit. They say anything slanderous and that they can't even prove that's hurting my actual income for me to actually live. I have a lawsuit on them. Easy. It's just that easy. But they don't know this. So I'm no victim here. Like I told you in the beginning of this show, this Contra 3 thing, I'm going to beat this. I don't need Twin Galaxies' permission to beat it. It was verified and authenticated by Walter with due diligence then, redone today. Like literally, Walter went to William McAvoy, got the his side of the story, the contenders, and put it together with what I told him, and he's like, "No, TriForce, you're right. It's actually point pressing." And then I'm looking at what they're saying on it. I said, "Wow, they're lying to him," because I'm watching them lie to David Hawkset right on the forums right now. So I said, I have no choice. I am not gonna do like Billy and wait until after they make a verdict about me, and then try to put out the actual score, because by then they'll do what they did. They'll do to me what they did to Billy and say, too late. So I told David Hawks and explained to everybody here right now who's watching the Empire Media podcast, I have already pulled out my Super Nintendo Mini and redone it again from rust on a bad run cycle and still got 9,958,000, and it was a bad run. I'm going to record a complete run, normal to hard, get the whole 99 million, and it's going to show you full point pressing tactic, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to wait for Twin Galaxies to make their verdict. And if Twin Galaxies make a verdict, says we're going to remove TriForce's score, the same day they make the verdict to remove my score, I will release the video, and I'm going to show Twin Galaxies made an error in their verdict. Why did you remove your scores, Twin Galaxies? Because this analyzation says this. Yeah, but this video shows that he literally did all the things required to get the score. So your analysis is wrong. How could it be wrong? It's not the math that's wrong. It's the idiots who's doing the math that are getting it wrong. And they're misinforming Twin Galaxies because they don't know anything about it. They don't play. Twin Galaxies don't play Contra 3, which is, I don't understand this. This is the crazy part. We're the experts. We're the non-biased experts. The people who are gathering critical data and evidence against me are the people who are saying TriForce is a cheater. Why are these biased people qualified to come up with data and provide it to Twin Galaxies? I don't understand that. How are you taking data in from biased people? They just had to ban Data God, who was one of them. And it's a whole influence. Like, you literally go on it. That's why I recorded the thread and put it on my YouTube, just in case Twin Galaxies, for some reason, somehow, some way, you can't get access to the thread to see the foolishness going on there. Let's put the whole thing on YouTube, so everyone can see dude just talking about, he get the ban on him, he's a cheater, he's a liar, he's a this, his refs are corrupt, the collusion, and dudes was implicating corrupt. Dudes dudes literally went on the border. They were on the precipice and said, it's not that I don't trust you, Dave Hawkset, but you having a conversation with TriForce in an email is suspect. So you're suspecting David Hawkset, who is the custodian for Twin Galaxies, for collusion with me over my score. This is the madness in the thread. Guinness does not do this. In fact, no other adjudication in the world allows people to do that. The populace cannot have any influence on the administration. The administration, in fact, the populace don't even get to have, they want to have their own opinion. They can have their opinion off-site. You do that on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. You don't do that on the site. You don't get to do that on the site. That is conduct unbecoming. And leaving it on the site is like leaving cancer. It spreads and it influences other people. People who come into Twin Galaxies for the first time walk in and see the thread and read all this negative stuff, they're going to get into mob mentality. Well, if this many people is arguing against TriForce, he has to be a scumbag. You're not going to have it. Very few people have the power to have critical thinking, to have their own, like, I don't care what they say. Show me the evidence. And literally, it's like 1 or 2 people on the thread actually did that. Well, look, guys, you need to show me X, Y, and Z because I know what you guys are saying, but it's not adding up on my end. And they stay objective, but the majority of them is going to be, they're not going to be objective. But this is the environment Twin Galaxies foster. They say, no, we don't. But like, so then what is this?
TriForce,
What
I want to be clear. I've had issues with Twin Galaxies and their dispute system from day one. It's, to me, in my personal opinion, it's folly. It doesn't make any sense to do this. What is the point of a verified world record if it's, constantly under dispute, or it's constantly under the potentiality of dispute? I personally disagree with this idea, but it is how it exists. It has a lot to do with why Guinness and other institutions are moving away from Twin Galaxies, because their adjudication system lacks logic, to put it plainly, and they have put themselves in a situation where the inmates are running the asylum.
That's pretty much what it is. I've been told that they don't care what the inmates say, but I'm like, that's not what's happening. I understand they don't care what they say. They don't care what the inmates say, but the inmates have mass influence, and that's fine if they want to have the mass influence. But if it gets to a point, which is going to get to a point, because I may just pull out of Twin Galaxies altogether, because there's another dispute open. Like, my Contra dispute's about to close, and I'm going to hit them with the 1 o'clock news right after, not even the 11th hour. I already hit them with the 11th hour. I'm now waiting for them to come up with their decision. I'm going to hit them with the 1 o'clock news. But there was a new dispute against me open up, I think, about 3 weeks ago. My versus Super Mario Brothers score. A game you interviewed me on. Settle it on the screen? Yeah, it was screen.
Your Super Mario Brothers versus score. I actually personally conducted the commentary on that.
Okay.
I did the video commentary. I interviewed you on that score, and I watched that personally. Now, granted, I was never officially a referee for Twin Galaxies, but I worked for Twin Galaxies. I know Super Mario Brothers better than most.
You know the game.
I personally did
Catherine
commentary for that video.
Catherine Despair said, all of our scores are fabricated without proper evidence. But you watch my full no-death run of Super Mario Brothers on the screen.
Yes. Oh, well, Twin Galaxies podcast at that point, but yes.
At the podcast. So that's crazy, because she said that none of our scores, are real. They're all fabricated with no proper evidence. But, that's the way it is. Now, it's kind of funny because the thing about that game, the game brings up, unlike Contra, the game tells you what you can and cannot do in terms of leeching. So you, Lance, Todd Rogers, David Nelson, especially David Nelson, because David Nelson had to let me know about something in the game that you can't and do. So you know the turtle hop trick, right?
Correct.
On the staircase, right? So there's a land version of it. And in 2008, when I first came to Fun Spot, I was informed that you can't step on the turtle, kick it, and step on it again. I was like, what? Why? That's so stupid. And it's like, no, you're not allowed to do that. But that's when the score was low. That's when the score reached was at the 1 million mark. So I was like, but that's kind of dumb. Why can't I? I said, why can't I kick it again? It's like because it mimics the turtle hop trick. Any ricocheting opponent, you're not allowed to attack more than twice. So that's what they called it. So you're not allowed to attack it more than twice.
Right.
I still got the 1 million points on it, but I argued it afterwards. And I said, but Dave, this doesn't make any sense because if I step on a turtle and I kick it and I have a firepower, I attack it. That's the third time. So if it ricochets off the wall, I have to jump over it. Why can't I destroy it? And then at that time, David was like, that's a good point. That's the same thing for Starman. In the first stage, you can step on the turtle, kick it, hit the Starman bounces and run. You can run behind the turtle. It kills everyone. You get the Starman. It ricochets and the turtle runs into you and you get the last point. So I'm like, so there's 3 actions being done by a ricocheting character. So the rule was, okay, you can only attack a ricocheting character 3 times. So you can either step on it, kick it, shoot it, step on it, kick it, destroy it with Starman, step on, kick it, and step on it to preserve your life. So because, you could be small, Mario's going to come and hit you, so you step on it. But if you kick it again, your score is disqualified because that's what they considered to be leeching. In Contra 3, it says no excessive leeching. There is no actual description to what they considered that to be. So it's subjective to the ref, right? Yes. So why is it that people today
a terrible idea from the start to make subjective rules on a game that provides points?
But
yeah.
Subjective, regardless if it's subjective or not, if it's subjective, then they need to change the rule. But you can't change the rule and penalize me.
No, I mean,
No
and
sport in
you're
the
pointing
world has
out
done
you're pointing out, quite frankly, the lunacy of some of these, they're trying to. It reminds me of the NFL, where they're just constantly trying to overrule everything. And I don't mean overrule, I mean over-dash rule, every aspect of the game.
Trying to make it too complicated.
Exactly. You make it too complicated, and it will, in essence, be too complicated. TriForce, we want to try to get on some of these other people to try to, verify some of this stuff and talk about this stuff. So I'll just ask you one more question.
Sure.
And you can kind of branch out from there and take a few minutes, and then we'll give you a few minutes to close before we try to bring on John and Phil Day.
Well, will that mean I will have to hang up and the other guys call in?
Well,
or
is that what it'll be? Adam?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way that Skype is kind of working.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the international calls, that's just how it's working. We've been able to take more than that in the past, but with the international calls, it's kind of it's getting tricky on us.
No problem.
You had we talked about your Contra 3 issue, and you're saying that you're going to resolve this. You had an issue. I'm just wondering if you want to talk about this. You had an issue that made some noise recently with you on one of your feeds, and you had a issue with Glenn Updike. In Glen
Updike, yeah.
Yeah. With where you guys kind of got into it pretty heavy there on a feed when he confronted you about the Contra 3. Do you want to talk about that at all? Do you regret the way the interaction went at all? Do you want to speak to that moment at all, or no?
I will leave this comment regarding that moment. There's nothing to regret. What happened is what's supposed to happen because that's why it happened. Glenn Updike came in there, first of all, uninvited. That's number one. He came on our platform uninvited. He just came into our Discord room and started talking over everyone. I didn't even know it was Glenn Updike. I didn't know it was named Glendo. I didn't know who he was. So I'm like, who is this guy? So at first he just started accusing me of stuff, saying that I robbed some player of their Contra 3 score. They tried to submit it and I denied them. It was never my score. I cheated and just kept rambling that. And I said, whoa, one at a time. Because, I'm like, whoever you are, whatever you're talking about, we need to address these things one at a time. But he wasn't giving me any room to talk. So now I'm raising my voice now because now I'm going to try to shout over this guy because, like, first of all, why are you in my room speaking over me? That's number one. So I said, what are you talking about? So he tells me some guy of something like this. So I said, okay, where is this? Like, where did you get this from? Do you have a video of me saying this? Do you have a text of me? Yeah, it's in the Twin Galaxies thread. I said, okay, which Twin Galaxies thread? It's on the thread. Now I'm getting upset now because I'm like, the thread is not a thread. What thread? Name me the thread. It's in the old posts. Can you give me a link to the old posts? Okay, I'm going to look it up for you. All right, grab it, looked it up. So I said, okay, there's 12 posts here. Which one is it? Right there. So now, can you imagine someone on a phone telling you right there? Where is right there? So guess what, Josh? Look to your left. Right there. You see it? You're gonna be like, what the hell? I'm looking to my left, right there. Where? What am I looking at? So I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Point out the post. So anyway, after going back and forth from that, he then goes, this post right here. So I read the post, right? So I'm like, okay, I don't get it. Where's this part where the guy tried to give me his record or his strategy and I denied it? And he's like, I didn't say that. So now what he doesn't understand is that, like, we're streaming. So I'm like, what do you mean you didn't say that? Yes, you did. No, I didn't. I said, we're streaming, right? I could just rewind. I said, Zuru, can you just go back 5 minutes in the stream? And he's like, yeah, my man, you just said that. He's like, no, I didn't. You're lying on me. So I'm like, now I'm getting upset now because I'm like, who the is this guy? Like, look, don't come in here with the foolishness. So then he's like, you're just mad because we caught you cheating. Ha, 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 ha. So I'm like, what the hell? So now I'm just upset because he's just being belligerent, talking over me. So now I'm yelling at him. We get into an altercation. Then he goes, just admit that you cheated, TriForce, because you didn't shoot the boss in Contra 3 to get the score. So I said, I didn't? He said, no. So I said, how do you get to see the score in Contra 3? He said, what do you mean? Let's say you get 9,999,000. How do you get to see the score when you beat the game? So I said, when you beat the game, right? He said, yeah. So I said, how do you beat the game? He's like, you shoot the boss. I was like, I know, dumbass. And I hung up on him. He just said I don't shoot the boss. So how the hell am I going to see my score if I don't shoot him? Because you have to kill him to end the game to see your score. This is the foolishness I'm dealing with. So I'm like, what? And it's just riling me up for no reason. And I just, they think because I'm a black man and I talk like this with passion and eccentricity that I'm angry or somehow emotional or, oh, this is the best part, unprofessional. But they can all kiss my ass. There's nothing professional about this. I don't care what they say. Twin Galaxies has a bunch of unprofessional, uncouth members of their community, not the organization. So please separate Twin Galaxies, the organization, from the Twin Galaxies community. Community is something different. And the organization is actually where the professionals are, which is why I only speak to them. They are the authority. They are the professionals. So I provide them the evidence. I do not provide the evidence to these fledglings because that's what I consider them. They're beneath me. Now, some people are like, oh, look at the arrogance of TriForce for even saying that. No, the way they act, they are beneath me. They act like entitled children who never got a chance, and they're mad that other people are getting opportunities and they're not. So to make their lives better, they want to destroy the people that are benefiting because they're not benefiting. So to those type of people are beneath me. Now, there are great people in Twin Galaxies in the community, but there's so few of them. The majority of them are just trash. And I proved that by putting that video out because it shows you they're trash. And that's just the reality. Do I want to be their friends? No. Do I want to be their associates? No. I'm not their peers. I am simply an affiliate. I go on the site to read Twin Galaxies articles. They mention me, and I have to read what they mention about me because they're attacking me. If they never mention me, I don't read their wall posts. I don't send them direct messages. I don't talk to them. I don't like them. I completely stay away from them.
And so, hey, TriForce, I think it's worth noting, too, that, Glenn Updike is a friend of mine. I think he's a good dude. I used to, be on a show with him in the past, and I like him. But for the record, and I think this is important, and I'm not saying that this is you, but for argument's sake, pretend that you're a total jerk, that you're an a-hole. No, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that your records aren't valid. Am I right?
I'm probably. There are people who think I'm an arrogant son of a bitch. I'm an asshole. I'm a jerk. I'm a scumbag. I'm a con artist. I am fine with that. I can live with it. Just
your ability to play video games is all that matters, correct? That's really what it boils down
even
to.
That. Not the thing here is this. I am not validated by them. Whatever their opinion about me, good or bad, they are entitled to that opinion. I am not trying to change anyone's mind. I am a free man. I am not influenced or willed by other people's influence. I do what I want to do. I know they're envious of that freedom because they don't have the power for that for themselves. They need to be validated by people or their day goes wrong. I don't have to speak to someone for an entire month. Don't make a difference. I've been homeless. Well, I just literally just came out of homelessness because I'm living with my wife. But I've been homeless since 2013, 14, 15, 16, up to the start of 17. So there's many times, and I'm going to end it with this, that I've been alone. I've slept in trains by myself. I've slept in parks by myself. And I've been alone, talking to nobody. And that's fine. I can live with that. I can live with no social interaction by people. The only people that I really care about are the people that I love and the people that support me. That's good enough. So if I have haters out there, that's fine. Congratulations. You're on my haters list. But do I consider them my enemy? They are not worthy to be my enemy. And my enemy has to be worthy. They are not worthy. Most certainly not worthy. So, if I'm a jerk, not even going to apologize for it. Just stay away from me, and you won't. This jerk, asshole, or arrogant SOB won't bother you because I don't bother you. Have you ever seen a post from me on social media about any of these guys?
I have not.
So if I'm a jerk, why are you talking to the jerk? Who does that? I'm done on that one.
TriForce, I really appreciate you coming on, and
I appreciate you having me.
I think you make your points boldly, but you make them succinctly as well. So I appreciate that. I wish we could keep you on. Sorry about the the thing with the international calls is getting to us. Radio is live radio. So
it's better not to have me because I talk too much. So, so John, you want to get John and Phil to have their say, and if I'm on, I'll probably just interrupt them like the jerk that I am, the arrogant SOB. Yeah, Phil, and just cut them off. So yeah, let me take a back seat. Let me listen to your program. Listen to these guys talk. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay.
Hey, TriForce. Adam and I are podcast hosts. We're cursed with the want to hear our own voice as well. So we totally understand. Thanks a lot for coming on, and we'll get John on next. Appreciate it, TriForce.
Thanks, TriForce.
No problem, guys. All right, talk to you later.
We'll see you, buddy. Okay, we're gonna wait.
Who's the one with the
the power glove?
The power.
That's him. Yeah,
that's TriForce.
Yeah.
We talked to him before.
Yeah. Oh, he's been on the show before. Yeah. For in the past when he's been on, it's been to just to talk about
all right, we
different
have
things he was gonna get a push forward. Yeah, but he's the dude with the power glove. Yeah, we asked him about the power glove. I think he should throw down some world records on the power glove.
I think he should too.
But
who's on the line now?
That'd be damn near impossible. Who do we got with us? You're live with us on theempiremedia.com XCast.
This is John.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Hey, quick note. Phil had to take his daughter home, so I'm not sure on the timing. He was waiting, but we couldn't get him on.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry about that.
That's okay. Yeah, we'll get Phil on. Eventually.
We did do 10 minutes of him with cricket.
Yeah, we
football,
he told us all about cricket earlier.
Yeah,
and,
he might still be able to make it back. He just wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I mean, we've had Phil on before, and the fact that we could limit Phil to only 10 minutes of cricket talk is actually pretty remarkable on our part. but John, tell the world, tell the listeners, those who don't exactly know who you are. How are you famous? Just briefly, how are you famous in the world of competitive gaming?
I've had a couple Galaga world records. I still play. I may set another couple in the future, but I've gone to a lot of events. I've done a lot of things in that nature. On a couple trading cards. But I wanted to come on today, one to corroborate, TriForce's story about people offering tips to refs, as I've done that as well. And also, if time permits, maybe a couple of the other things that got discussed.
Absolutely, John. Tell us your take on this. Quite frankly, you are being very modest, and I appreciate that. But you are a gamer in very good standing. Your skills are not in question, and you have had some impressive scores on several games over the years.
Well, thank you. But getting to the tipping thing, and I saw it in the chat. This is what I had said before as well. It's a common courtesy. Some of us, like TriForce and myself at the time, didn't know that the refs were completely voluntary. No gas reimbursement, no meals, no nothing. So before, after the first time, I obviously knew, this wasn't acceptable. But the first time I had a ref come and witness one of my scores, and again, I'm like TriForce, I'm not mentioning any names, but I once I found out after I played, so my game was already done. He had already said, yeah, that's good. We're good to go. I said, okay. And, we found out that, his reffing was completely voluntary. And I said, well, can I give you a tip? And he said, no, I couldn't accept a tip. I said, well, at least let me buy you lunch. And he said, no, I don't think we should do that either. So I didn't. He said he would like to. He just didn't think he could. Or should, I should say. And so I didn't, just like TriForce didn't. But and going back to TriForce,
John, if I could interrupt 1 second here, and then we'll get
Sure.
right back to you. Without mentioning names either, because I don't have a problem with any of this, with what you're saying. But as somebody that worked for Twin Galaxies, many refs, and I don't have any problem with this, like I said, but many refs, when people said, hey, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you dinner? Can I buy you a beer after this? Many of the refs said yes.
Okay.
So when you said this and you caught the ref that was really doing it by the book, good for him. But I'll be honest, I never thought it was terrible when refs had a round of drinks bought for him or something afterwards, and it did happen.
Oh yeah, I mean, and there shouldn't be. I mean, they performed a service for you. So what's wrong with you? Returning. I don't want to say returning the favor, I guess, but it's a common courtesy.
And it was a celebratory
they're providing their
function
time.
in a lot of ways,
Yeah, and they're spending their own money to come and do this for you. Well, anyway, but back to TriForce. I missed some of the broadcast initially, so I don't know if this got brought up, but I think one of the biggest problems with his situation is he misworded it before. He said tipped, not tried to tip, and that's where people got into the bribery because he misworded what he wanted to say, and he said tipped, and
you're correct there,
sure. Yeah, but anyway, I don't see why that's a problem, and I can guarantee, like you said, many people have offered, and in some cases apparently even have done it. So the fact that they're going after him for bribery is just kind of ludicrous.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've actually I've seen, and I had no problem with it at the time. I was when I was working for Twin Galaxies, guys would occasionally throw down a record and buy a round of drinks for everybody, including me, and I didn't even do anything. I have no problem admitting that. So I do think you're proper to point that out, that it wasn't. He actually isn't even being accused of tipping. He's actually being accused of offering to tip.
Right. And, some of the other issues that have come up are just somewhat crazy as well. But another thing that maybe should be pointed out is even though Twin Galaxies is still, I say is still, there is a company called Twin Galaxies.
Right.
It's a business.
Right.
It's not the same, even though it is, as far as legal standpoint, but it's not the same company it used to be. It is, but it isn't. And I actually had a fairly long conversation with Jace last night, and it was a little eye opening in some regards. And they're a business, and they're in business to make money, and that's the goal of any for-profit business, and I understand that. So in some regard, maybe some of this, the term witch hunt comes up. Whether or not people agree with that is, it's their interpretation of it. I'm not going to say what side of the fence I'm on that, but the way I look at it at this time, after a lot of thought, is who cares? These, for lack of a better term, assholes that are trying to just ruin people's lives, throw down their scores. Their scores aren't on the old Twin Galaxies anymore. They're on this new Twin Galaxies. It's a completely different system. It's not done the same way. And to be honest, I don't. And I told Jace this too, and he says, he doesn't take anything I say personally. I don't agree with the way they do things now, and I don't think it's legitimate as far as especially world record scores go. Having just anybody vote on any score and basically encouraging people to vote on scores they know nothing about in order to garner points so that they can do other things with those points. Like I've got world record scores that I can't submit because I don't have points. I vote on a Galaga score, but I'm not going to vote on, he said, well, you should vote on Angry Birds. No, I'm not going to vote on Angry Birds. I've never played that dumb game. But the point is, why would I vote on a score I know nothing about just to get points to submit my own score that is a world record? And if you're tracking world record scores, if that's your company's goal or aim or mission, what the hell are you not taking my score and saying, oh my God, you got a world record score. We need that score. It's kind of boggling, but
basically, John, in essence, they are claiming to track world records, but they are taking potential world records and turning it into a popularity contest. Is in essence
right
what they're doing.
But going back on his behalf, it's his company. He can do whatever the hell he wants with it. So who are we to get mad about it? And that's where my little revelation came in. I'm thinking, that is his choice. So those of us that have these scores, of any nature, TriForce, Billy Mitchell, Todd Rogers, there really should be a reinvention of the old Twin Galaxies. And that may actually be in the works in some way, shape, or form. But
many whispers of it, for sure.
Yes, but that's more what it should be about, and it shouldn't be a public circus as far as accepting or turning down scores based on popular vote. And if you, sorry, I don't. I could go on a lot on that, but I've actually composed a letter to Guinness. I haven't sent yet, but I debated bringing this up. But are you familiar with Galaga Forum at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so we track Galaga scores, and that's it. Marathon tournament settings, arcade and main, and we basically track the top 100 of each. And we took scores from Twin Galaxies, Arcade, and a few other reliable sources. And that was what we populated our list with. And then we verify personally any new scores. So we consider ourselves the experts of Galaga. So if anybody's equipped to judge Galaga scores, it's going to be us, not people that have never played it. Or, of course, that's kind of hard to find because that's a more popular title, but you know what I mean. And So my letter to Guinness is going to be to request that they recognize our scores as, if it happens to be a world record, as a world record. So
Logic
we're
and
working
reason
on
are
that,
on
I
your
think.
side, sir. I must say.
Hopefully, but and our staff is comprised of, we've got some pretty big names on our staff. Phil Day, he and I and Mark Schultz
You got to
actually
be able to
founded
trap
it.
better names than that.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Hank Chen is our overall final say guy.
Okay.
Got
Andrew Laidlaw on there?
We do not.
Oh, you should.
Well,
I'm not trying to discredit
that's another
you. I'm
story.
just saying that.
We do have Armando Gonzalez. We have Andrew Barrow.
Very impressive.
We have the top players. We also have Glenn Updike. We have, and I know that's a controversial topic right now as well. And actually,
Glenn Updike is. I know we mentioned some stuff. Glenn Updike is an old friend of mine. I talked to him on the phone yesterday. Didn't mention video games once, but Glenn Updike's a good guy.
Yes, he is. And we also have Eric Axon. We have a lot of people. I'm sure I forgot a few. Tanner Russo. But also going back,
good
since
names.
I brought up Glenn Updike, this Contra 3 score, our biggest disagreement, because I'm actually in TriForce's corner on that score. The biggest disagreement Glenn and I have is whether or not what TriForce did was leeching. I say it's not. He says it is. Walter Day says it's not. He actually wrote a fairly long statement about that.
Sure.
And the reason is that because when TriForce was doing what he was doing to point press, that's what it really was. He was always in imminent danger. He could have been killed at his guy, not
Sure.
him literally,
Right.
but at any point in time, and that was really the key, and that's really it seems to be the biggest disagreement. I didn't hear any of the this wasn't your score, any of that. We were arguing about whether or not it was leeching, and I think that's his biggest problem with it. And but once Walter Day said that it wasn't, and it was his decision at the time.
It was. Once
he determined it wasn't, and he went back, he literally did the due diligence and went back. Just now he's done this, and he still says he stands by his initial decision that it was just point pressing. So in that regard, it's good. However, again, this isn't the same Twin Galaxies. They've got different personnel, a different mission. It's a completely different situation. So even if they do take away that score or whatever they do, really, who cares? They didn't take away his score. They took it away from their company. Right. Their build business. His score is alive and well and valid as far as Walter Day is concerned, and probably as far as any other legitimate organization is concerned. Just because people that don't know anything about it don't validate it, that's really irrelevant, and it's really stupid that they would allow that to determine whether or not it's valid.
John, I agree with you. I really appreciate you coming on. You speak succinctly, and you told your side of the story eloquently and properly. I really appreciate everything you had to say, and thanks for coming on. Is there anything else you want to throw out there? I have two more questions for you, but is there anything else you want to throw out there?
Well, just one thing real quick. Can I go ahead and when we hang up, I'll go ahead and text Phil and tell him he should call right away, or
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and we can too. But yeah, definitely do that, please.
Okay. Yeah, he wanted me to let him know, so I just. All right. And you said you had a couple questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I want to make this very clear that the answer of, "Hey Josh, you're a jerk, I'm not answering that," is a totally acceptable answer to either of these questions. So don't hesitate. I don't want to get you in trouble. But two things real quick, just basically off what we've discussed here tonight. Are you better at Galaga than Phil Day?
Oh man. Here's the thing. You know about Score Wars, the Galaga World Champions.
Yes.
I got third. He didn't. But no. No.
Word.
No. The thing is, neither one of us had played in several years. I mean, I literally maybe played 2 games in the 5 years leading up to it. They just told me to come do it, and so I did. And same with Phil. He hadn't played at all either. And in about the same progression, we were putting up almost identical scores leading up to it. I mean, I think I had maybe a week to put scores up. So I went from not playing at all to getting 800,000, 1.4 million, 2.2 million, in successive days. And so we were building our games back up. I think I think we're similar. And again, he's not playing anymore. So I think right now, today, if we went head to head, I'd smack him down.
So it's safe to say that Phil Day is a Galaga chop at this point.
He's good. He's still good. He isn't gonna be as good as he used to be right this second. You know what I mean? It would take him a couple months to build up to it again. And same with me. I'm not as good as I used to be, but I will be if I play more.
Hey, I appreciate the answer. And hey, this one, feel free to answer again with Josh or Jerk. Cut it out. But is Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass?
Oh yeah, Oh, do you have time for a tiny quick story?
Of course.
Okay. Again, Galaga Forum, we're taking scores now, and we want our scoreboard to be accurate, legitimate. We're not going to turn down scores based on personal issues. You submit a score, if it meets the criteria, it's good, right?
Absolutely.
A score was submitted to us by Stephen Krogman.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a legitimate score. We accepted it.
Right.
In accepting that score, we were told that we support pedophilia.
Yeah, well, because Stephen Krogman had some, legal issues in the past. Right. But you are not judge, jury, and executioner here. You are a Galaga Forum.
Right. And but I mean, this was put all over all over Facebook and all over. So anyway, and he was a little bit involved. He didn't go do it to the extent that Cat Aspire did, but anyway.
John, years ago, I accepted a friend request from Stephen Krogman on Facebook. And I'll be honest with you, I had no idea who the hell he was. I accepted a friend request, and it was hellfire was brought down on me. And I was accepting pedophilia, and I was tantamount to a pedophile myself. And this all happened to me. This was 72 hours of me saying, like, Jesus Christ, guys, I hit accept on a thing. I had no idea what I was even doing. Yeah.
Well,
so I mean,
what they didn't even know, as far as that goes, what they didn't even know was that he was banned from our forum. From being able to post or anything. He wasn't allowed at any events we ever have, literally. Mm-hmm. So but they didn't know that. They just because we accepted the score. So I think people like him and Kat and just people with that mindset, they're toxic, they're venomous.
Right.
But that's what they thrive on, and that's what draws the people that they attract to them. They attract that crowd. So maybe good for them that they are popular in their own little right, but it's wrong, and it's not the kind of thing that people should be into.
No, I
sorry if I interrupted there.
No, not at all. No, I agree with you, John, and hey, I really appreciate the call, man.
All right,
really,
well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
It was great to have TriForce on. He's very he's very in your face. I appreciate that, but you. Yeah,
he's a good guy, though.
Oh, TriForce is a great guy. No, I do. I agree with you.
And you guys are going to be at in Ottumwa in October, right?
That's the plan. Yeah. Well, I
All
hope
right,
so. I hope
because
so.
you guys can pick me up on the way there. Great.
Hey, I'm coming from Detroit. We're yeah, perhaps.
Where you at, John?
Yeah, I'm at Battle Creek,
Oh,
Oh, right on. Hey, yeah, that's
just down the road.
It is. Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Kellogg's for the
But-
win, man.
What's that?
Kellogg's for the win.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
Hey,
Well, I'll let Phil know to call you guys and get on.
thanks, John. I really appreciate the
Thank you,
call,
John.
man. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Of course.
Well,
All right. Hopefully, we get Phil Day all the way from Australia,
yeah.
our favorite continent, country, and island.
I think we've exhausted the cricket talk.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yes, it's chat has been pretty lively. I did see somebody was talking about whether or not somebody can sue somebody else living in a foreign country. I looked that up real quick, and apparently you can.
Oh,
and
good.
It sounds like you have to get like two different lawyers though. You have to get one in your own country. You have to find a lawyer that's going to pick up the case.
Okay.
In the United States, but yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with libel and slander, it says it's very you can definitely do it. So I don't know if TriForce wants to pursue something like that, then I guess he can. But it sounds like you're gonna have to. It's not surprising that you're gonna have to sit here and you're gonna have to prove that it's affecting you in your own country, just like any libel or slander law here in the United States. You could accuse somebody of that, but you have to prove that it's actually affecting your day-to-day life.
Would it be safe to say that you, at this point, truly have to prove that they are Jamaican him crazy?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's
Phil
what I thought.
Phil is back.
Phil, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, how are we?
Phil, you
Yeah,
changed.
good.
How
Can you
are
hear me okay?
We can hear you loud and
Yeah,
clear,
I'm good.
sir.
No worries.
So back to this
I haven't been
cricket
able to hear
talk.
Yeah, back to cricket. I didn't hear most of the broadcast. I couldn't. I was sort of busy running around with my daughter.
No, that's
Anyway,
all right. That's all right.
I'm not
How
sure
dare
where
you
John
put your
left
family
off
in
or
front of
what-
video game talk?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what you covered with. I mean, what originally happened was TriForce reached out to me, and then of course you did, Josh, and about talking about the Contra 3 world record. But I'm not sure if that's been discussed or what's been covered. Or
It has been. If you'd like to chime in, you may.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not familiar with the game, so I had to sort of ask around and talk to various people. And from what I gathered, what the story is, which is what I think this is. I mean, I heard bits of TriForce talking about various things. I didn't catch all of it, but I feel that all that sort of just clouds the issue of what I think this might really be about. And so what I understand is that when the rules were written for Contra 3, that it made a point as no excessive itching. And what I've since understood is that there's an aspect of the game on stage 3 or level 3 at the first mini boss. This is what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way of leeching where you can just, and Nintendo informed people about it, you could just put a clamp, G clamp on the fire button and sit in a certain spot and just walk away, and you would just keep scoring points. Now, whether that was written in for that particular aspect of the game, I'm not sure, but that's where the leeching could certainly occur.
Yeah, I think there's actually two spots. I think there's actually two spots in that game where you can do that.
Yeah, it could be various spots, but that might be the first time it occurs. I'm not sure. I'm not that familiar, so I've just talked to people who are familiar with it. Now, when TriForce submitted his approach to getting this score, it sort of brought into question the ideas of point pressing and leeching points. Now, my understanding of point pressing is to try and capture as many points or score as many points available on the screen before you keep making forward progression. Now, this is just my understanding. So, I mean, to use an obvious example, is the one I can think of is things like Donkey Kong and Scramble. So Donkey Kong or Scramble, you're just forced to keep scrolling along. You can't go back. If you miss a fuel station or a rocket, you've missed those points. There's no return. Whereas Donkey Kong, the forward progression is caused by the clock ticking away. It's saying you've got 2 minutes to get the points, or I don't know how much there is on each board on Donkey Kong, each stage, but it's basically saying there's a finite amount of time, and before you get as many points as you can before you're forced to exit, and forced by meaning that if you don't get out, then we're just going to you'll jump man or die. So even though that when you look at the game, they're running up and down ladders and moving around, forward progression is being made because you can't just sit still. You won't win like that. So it's like
in time is of the essence.
To go back to this. Yeah, in time. So to put it into something like basketball or a favourite sport of yours, Josh, soccer, there is a clock ticking away. So if you want to defend, your low score, then you won't win. The clock will run out. The same is true in chess. There's a clock. There's a timer that's going to. So even though you might be stationary or you may be doing very little, the game is progressing whether you're moving or not.
Yeah, it's
and I think that's true of Donkey
soccer,
Kong.
Donkey Kong makes sense, and the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
It's clicking downwards instead of up. But
In hockey, it used to click up.
Yeah, that's right. But well, it doesn't matter which way it goes. It's counting to zero. So there's a zero. There's a finite amount of time to play a game of basketball. They might have extra time for penalties and things like that. But there is a finite amount of time. It's not going on forever.
And
unlike
Phil,
cricket.
Phil, exactly.
Yeah.
And Phil, you are right.
Yeah.
And what this kind of boils down to too is that it's kind of an arbitrary idea, and it's subjective as well as to which game you're playing. Because in a game like Donkey Kong, according to Twin Galaxies, point pressing is not only expected but encouraged. And in this particular game,
that's right. Yeah.
3-point pushing is considered bad. So we have
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, I don't think that point pressing in Contra 3 is bad. It's the difference between point leeching, and this is. Now, I've drawn no conclusion on whether what TriForce has done is point leeching or point pressing. So I just think I need to make that clear on the outset because I don't know the game. So to talk about a game I am much more familiar with is like Galaga. There is the bit of point pressing you can do is try and capture ships while in flight. You get more points, and there's a bee will split into 3 enemies, and you can capture all 3, and you get extra points. And if you'd miss 2 of them, there's 2 that will, once they leave the screen, they won't come round again. But the progressive motion of that game is not a clock, and nor is it being forced to scroll through. It has the illusion of movement, but if you miss an enemy, it's going to come back around again, and you get to shoot it anyway. So you're forced to progress by clearing the stage. Whereas Space Invaders, you're forced to clear the stage, and if you refuse to attack the enemy, then you will die because the timer is them just coming down to land on you and they'll just flatten you. You know what I mean? Like if they touch Earth, then your ship bombs. Whereas in Galaga, you can just dodge forever if you're good enough. You just keep dodging, but you won't score any points. So there's no point pressing. It's just wasting your own time. It's not. Just makes for a very long game and not scoring any points. Now,
if you're as good as somebody like John Klinkle or Andrew Laidlaw, you can do that, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're someone who's very skilled at just dodging all the time, then that's fine. But you won't score any points doing it. It's not. You've exited the game. Now but in something like Donkey Kong, if you just run up and down ladders and not jump any barrels, if it's possible to keep maneuvering away from the barrels, you're still not going to score points. But that clock is going to hit 0 and you're going to die. So the game is progressing without you anyway. It's going to keep moving forward. Now, my understanding of Cobra. Oh, it's Cobra, isn't it? That's what we're talking about, isn't it? Yeah, Cobra. I'm thinking, no, Contra 3. Am I right? Yeah, Contra. 3. Yeah, Contra. I'm thinking Contra 3.
Yeah.
Is that? You're not forced to keep moving forward. You have to make that progression yourself. I'm not sure if you can go backwards or not. I'm not sure, but there's no forced scrolling and there's no timer.
The stages vary. They're all
different. Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, when I like digging around. This was brought up in 2008, and I'll just find it here. I took some screenshots so I could. So it was someone by the name of Kyle, and he talks about. He made a post on the Twin Galaxies site. Now this goes back to 2008, and what he asked was. He says, he has a leeching question. He says, I also have a leeching question. One of the most important spots to rack up points in this game is during the battle with the red falcon brain, where you pick its attack by shooting one of the orbs that circle around it. Obviously, you want to destroy as many of the orbs that the brain uses during one of these attacks and minimize the damage done to the brain itself. Since the brain takes damage from you just shooting at the orb that picks it up that picks its attack? Can you ignore the brain completely and just shoot orbs while it attacks? So I think this is exactly what TriForce has done. So this person in 2008 has queried this. Now, TriForce's response, he says, where is it? I'll just find it here. The problem with this is what or who determines what is point pressing versus leeching. And when you find this answer, what is the limit? How can one judge? This is why there should be no leeching in Contra, period, in my opinion. So TriForce says there shouldn't be any point leeching, but he's not saying that this is point leeching. He actually says to this guy, Kyle, he says, well, it depends on who determines whether this is point leeching or point pressing. So now my understanding of Twin Galaxies in the day, when TriForce submitted his score, which I think is nearly 10 years ago, which is what he told me, it was accepted then.
Yes.
And 2008. So it's the same year this was submitted here. So this is around the same time. Whether this Kyle guy came up with the idea first or TriForce, I don't know. You'd have to check the dates. But either way, he's presented this problem saying, is this point leeching or is it point pressing? Now, it seems that the reason that point leeching was put into the rules was to do with clamping down the fire button, saying, look, you can't do that. That's out. But no one actually had considered what these two guys had done, Kyle and TriForce, whoever had done it first. Mm-hmm. And now that it came to surface when either of them did it first, I don't know, it was declared that wasn't point leeching. But now it's being reviewed again, and it seems to be being assessed that it could well be point leeching, not point pressing. Now, however that's decided, because the way Twin Galaxies runs now with this dispute system is just how it's run. Now, I'm not saying I'm in favour or against or whatever. It's just that's the nature of how it is now. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
right.
So I think that the argument is, I don't think there's any kind of confusion between what point pressing and what point leeching is. It's more a case of identifying it correctly in this particular aspect of a game. Now, what I understand is the boss that's being shot at,
forward
I think
progression
it's
is
200 plus points. Yeah, forward progression. So if the forward progression is the player making every effort to progress through the game. Now, from what I understand, the boss that's being shot at,
or at least minimal effort,
it has about
proceed.
Yeah. So the boss that's being shot at is about, I think it has about 200 plus points, like hit points, to use an old D&D term, like 200 and something hit points, maybe 230 or something. Right. And the weakest gun in the game is some sort of small pea shooter, which does 2 points of damage. So therefore, when you do the math on that,
the default weapon.
So default weapon. So if you shot it, let's say it's only 200 points it's got. I think it might be 230 or something. But just to keep it simple, let's say it's 230. You only have to shoot it 115 times before it dies. Now, if you calculate that, what would be the time it would take to do that on an average game, then you'd be able to determine whether this is point leeching or point pressing. Is someone making forward progression in the game, or is it just sitting there avoiding killing the monster and just trying to score as many points without progressing forward? But because there's no forcing through the game, there's no sort of like, the time's running out or you're not being forced through. It's really up to the player to progress through the game, and that doesn't change the attitude towards what's determined by
and at that point
leeching.
If you're not trying to determine too, right?
Yeah, that's right. So at that point, well, that's how it used to be. It used to be up to a referee. So the rules are written now, but now it comes to a dispute system. So I think if the audience for Contra 3, whoever they are out there, and I don't vote on these things at all. I think it's important that I'm not involved in it at all. So whatever they determine there, I think, well, same for you, Josh. If you're going to be, some sort of objective sort of journalism on this, I think it's best not to be out there voting on these things.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I don't have my opinion on it, but I can't have an opinion on a game I haven't really played. But and this might sound like I do have an opinion, but I don't. This is just what I've gathered from talking to people who do know the game well, including TriForce. But and having read Walter's statement recently that came out. So I think that the important thing here for me is that this isn't cheating. TriForce hasn't cheated at all. If people see this as cheating, then I think that's a huge error. What he's done is played a game, submitted it 10 years ago. It was reviewed then to say, yes, we think this is accurate. in regards to the rules. We're awarding him, the height, like the world record or whatever rank it is, and that was that. And if people find now that they don't agree with it, what previous referees saw as what was point pressing, then now they're seeing as point leaching, and they turn this score down and have it removed. I think it'd be a huge error for people to think that TriForce cheated at all. There's nothing here that he hasn't tried to. I think more. There's been plenty of examples of cheating. Like, I don't know the name of the person, but when someone used a car wheel to get a really high score on track and field, they just hooked it up and spun it around really quick so the character ran really fast. That's clearly cheating the mechanics of the game.
And Phil, that'll be left up to to them, I guess, at the end of the day. What I would like to talk to you about briefly, is TriForce has been accused of bribery. Now he laid that out into why what he did was not bribery. I mean, it actually definitely was not bribery, because he says it as tipping, which I agree with, but the tip was never accepted. Is this something you were familiar with in your days in Twin Galaxies?
Well, yeah. Well, just to make it clear to people that my days with Twin Galaxies, I was living in a town in New South Wales, Australia, with 1,000 people. I couldn't have been further from the Tomwa.
Right.
It was a long way. So I wasn't affiliated with anyone there. The only person who I knew early on was Kelly R. Fluent, and I didn't know him. He was the person I sent my original scores to. So the first score I sent was just the third highest score for Gallagher, just to make sure my videotaping and everything was correct, my dip switches were right. And when he verified the score, he said, "You're good to go." And the only reason I chose Kelly R. Fluent was I didn't know anything about him, but he was in Canada, not in the USA. And I thought, oh, well, he's in Canada, he probably gets less submissions. Then I found out he got, more than anyone, I think, because he was doing all this console stuff. So anyway, not that it mattered. But anyway, after what had happened was, after I got the world record, I wanted to say thanks to various people. And one was a guy by the name of Lennon Harley, who was a journalist, and others were people like, there were other refs and players and stuff who I didn't submit any scores to, but and players like Andrew Laidlaw and others who sort of were encouraging and stuff, around that community. So what I'd done is so Kelly Fluent, a former student of mine, he gave me a roll of 20-cent pieces, which is the equivalent of your quarter, where it was 20-cent pieces you dropped in the machine here. And what had happened was when he gave me those coins, he said they were for world record attempts only. And so my daughter's just asking for something. Here you go. There you go. and sorry, he gave me a roll of 20-cent pieces, and he wrote on it for world record attempts only. So what I did is, we marked them, we numbered them. And when I got the world record, I knew which number I dropped in. So I removed that and I mounted it on a plaque with a photograph of me and the dial, the Gallagher machine and my high score, whatever it was, and sent it to Kelly R. Fluent afterwards, saying thanks for verifying the score, thanks for his assistance. It was just a gift of gratitude. That's all it was. And I also made a whole bunch of little badges, little pin badges that had my world record score on it. And I know that Eric Akerson got one, so did Patrick Scott Patterson, and various other people probably walled today, a whole bunch. I don't know. I can't remember. There were heaps of people I sent them out to. You might have got one, Josh. I don't know.
No, I didn't get one. But I want one now, though. I don't know why.
I think I may have one. I think I've got one lingering.
I think I deserve one.
But yeah, you do. I do. I think there might be one. And I also gave my world record certificate. Yeah, I will. But also gave a world record certificate of mine to Janet Carr, I think her name was, and she was the producer of Good Games here in Australia on the BBC, which is a national television station. They did an article, like a segment on me. Now, none of these, in my mind, were bribes. Like, this was all after the event. I'd already got the world record, and it was just a gift saying, thanks, Kelly Fluent, for
as I don't know if you heard me.
Celebrating.
Phil, I don't know if you heard us on with John, but as I kind of pointed out before, it's when this is happening, it's kind of a celebratory action. So yeah, people they give out gifts, they buy dinner, they buy drinks, it's it was not uncommon
yeah.
at all. You know, there's nothing uncommon about it, actually.
Well, I think that, I mean, anyone who's been to one of these events, Billy Mitchell was always giving away a poster and a bottle of hot sauce. Now, that was to anyone who came up, and I don't think I don't think any referees were discouraged from taking a bottle of hot sauce. And I remember being there in Ottumwa and going to the airport with Steve Wiebe and Laidlaw, and they had hot bottles of hot sauce like that they'd taken from Billy Mitchell as a gift.
I brought back a case. The very first time I met Billy Mitchell, I brought home a case and a half actually of hot sauce.
Yeah,
and distribute it and ate it and whatever.
Yeah, I think there'd be clear examples what a bribe is, you know, and I don't know what TriForce did. I don't know what he actually did in what he referred to as a tip, which other people are calling a bribe. I have no idea, and I don't know if you want to tell me what that was. But
he actually never tipped. He actually just simply offered.
He offered, but the referee didn't take it.
He offered, and the referee, although he could have said no, you know, that's you know, I checked, and that's against
what
the
was
rules.
the tip? What was the
he
tip
was
for?
He was going to give some cash, but because he felt bad that the guy had to work so hard for doing so many records, but the guy turned it down, and no tip ever took place. Actually, it was just an offer.
See, I think it'd be like, for me, it'd be the equivalent of like if I was living in the US and I don't know, if I was living in Detroit with you guys, and this is going back, and we wanted Eric Aikson to come out and, like, you know, verify a score. We wanted an on-site referee for a marathon game or something, or we wanted Robert Merchek to come over from New York, and you'd say, look, we've got the money together for a flight. Now, is that a bribe, or is that just assisting someone? I don't know. Like, for me, I think it's just assistance. It's just we need a referee there. It's taking up their time.
I mean, Phil, do you remember when you came in for IVGOF, for the International Video Game Hall of Fame? I guess now when I look back at it, I never thought of this as anything, but I technically worked for Twin Galaxies directly at the time, and you crashed at my place for free. Was that collusion?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
was that collusion?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was.
I crashed at your place and Michael Stroker's, and I stayed with Eric Aikson.
We went out to dinner. We hung out. We stayed up.
I think
till...
from memory, David. Yeah, and that's right. I don't, and I think that it is a very small niche community, because as big as that subculture is in many ways, it's driven by enthusiasm. It's not really driven by much money. No. There isn't, apart from Score Wars, no one was seeing, like, people were, for Score Wars in New Mexico, people were flown in, put up for 4 or 5 days, or whatever it was, flown in internationally, returned back home again, were fed, like it was.
Absolutely.
And that was so they could run the event. Now, and there was big prize money, like, it wasn't life-changing money, but the number one, the main prize was $10,000 US. Like, that's substantial for an arcade game. We're not talking about, like more current games like StarCraft. We're talking about a 40-year-old game that someone's offering $10,000 on if you win. Now,
we're running short on time, Phil, so if you want to,
Yeah, sorry, but
oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
But that aside, there's no real money that's floating around in this arcade sense, from what I can tell. But most people are just going into it genuinely enthusiastic about it, and there's a lot of sharing to go on, to assist people. Like when we went to the first Kong-Off, I was living in Toronto, and I flew down to Detroit, and we drove from there to New Jersey, and we stayed in the same hotel room. Remember? We shared bills for petrol and whatever to get back again.
We crammed into a Dodge and drove from New York, or from Detroit to New Jersey. There was we weren't living in the lap of luxury by any means.
No, and I think it's the same for the Kong-Off with Richie Knuckles. A lot of it was just his money spent to, I don't know if I know with at the Kong-Offs here with in Brisbane.
Right.
I don't know how much money is returned from the efforts that are put in, but this next one is bringing people internationally in, but they're not flying them in. they're just bringing themselves in, and we're all staying in, because I'm going up to do some commentary. We're all just hosting ourselves. We're all getting ourselves up there and looking after our own accommodation. So I think that, I can't see many people trying to bribe anyone. I mean, I suppose where there's no money, that makes more sense to try and bribe someone, but it seems to suggest to me that no one's really profiting from betting these games. So why would you put the money into it in that way? I'm not saying it's impossible. It's not like a crazy idea to bribe someone, but I just think that
I feel like by definition, it's not bribery if it takes place after the fact.
That's right. It's that's exactly right. So if it's after the fact, I mean, what you're just saying, well, thanks for all your efforts you've done. I just wanted to, do something.
Happy, I just got a world record on a video game. Can I buy a Bud Light? Can
I? And especially it was over a distance. Like if you can't be there, so look, I'd like to do something. I don't know. I was going to send you a gift or something, but maybe I can just give you some money. You can go out with your partner for a meal.
Right? Yeah. Can I buy a gift card to Applebee's? I feel like that's
I do think
at this point.
But I do think. I mean, I know we're running out of time, but I do think that there does seem to be an aspect, and maybe this is true of everything anyway. But in the video, this classic arcade community, sometimes people's feelings do get mixed with facts. So the decision around this Contra 3 score to bring in certain other aspects of a person's personality or behaviour, it may not be pleasant. I've called players on it, but that's no reason for disputing a score. Like if someone submitted a score and they were just swearing the whole time and kicking the machine, but they got the world record, I don't think it's cause to reject their score because they used the C word too often.
Right. You've proved that they're a jerk. You haven't proved that their record is invalid.
Yeah. Like I think that we're looking at scores. We're not looking at personalities, and I think that when this sort of stuff happens, people can get very distracted from what's really the case. So if they want to talk about TriForce's gameplay, I think they have every right to do so, to see whether it's legitimate within the confines of the rules. That's open. That's public. That's how the leaderboards run now. And if someone wants to dispute something, they're entitled to do so. But if they want to start questioning other behaviours, I mean, especially when it comes on anecdotal evidence, like a ref, TriForce once offered me money, and TriForce is saying, well, I did, but it was just a tip. But really, it's just two people talking, and there's a lot of confusion. But when we look at a game and a score, we can say, well, that's digitally measured. We can assess whether that's accurate. We can evaluate whether that's accurate to the gameplay or how it should be played. But evaluating someone's behaviour outside of the gameplay to determine whether whether their game should stand on a leaderboard, I think that's bad form. I just don't think it's got anything to do with what. And if it goes in that direction, I think why would you want to? If it's anyway, I could be dragged through the mud for some reason.
Right.
I've only got one.
Phil, I think you're right. I think you're making the right points here, and we appreciate your call. We appreciate you chiming in on this. I think you made your points very clearly. Actually, got a few more questions. I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked John before we left here.
Yeah, no worries.
Listen, I gave John the opportunity. I told him that, it's easy. You can just, if you wish, you can answer with, Josh, you're a jerk, and I'm not answering that question. That was a professional courtesy that I gave John, but I'm not going to give that courtesy to you. I want real answers from you. Are you better at John than in Galaga?
Well, the scoreboard says I am, but I don't think I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if you're just looking at leaderboard, the evidence suggests that my score's higher, but there's lots of problems in that. Like if you look at the Twin Galaxies scoreboard, Andrew Barrow's only a 300,000 point better player than me. Well, he's not. He's about a 2 million point player than me, so he hasn't submitted a better score, Now, I think John's biggest problem is he doesn't have a machine to play on. Having a machine at home with that year I had, it makes a huge advantage. So with John with the machine at home, I think John's, if he could play regularly, he's a 4 million plus player. I think he could confidently get 4 million plus. 5 million's I'm not saying to stretch for him, but it's just that becomes another, like, how determined he is to do it. You know, like when you look at someone like Hernandez's game of 6 million, that's a 4 year, been playing for 4 years. Do you see what I'm saying? And I played for only about a year regularly. But it would take, if someone said, oh, you've got to chase Hernandez's score. If I played for 4 years, I don't even know if I'd reach it. We're talking about an urge to want to do it, you know. Like, you've got to want to play. And Andrew Barrow. I think Andrew's a very different player to me. And I don't play anymore. That's the problem. But when Andrew and I used to play, he was very aggressive. He's got a style that's a bit like Hernandez, but his biggest flaw in the game, and it's evident in his game, even his world record run, is he was never good at doubling his ship up. That was his biggest flaw. You know, he wasn't good at that. But so his strategy was playing he's not likely to form well in a competition because he plays a game, and if it's a bad run or bad start, he'll start again. So he's always looking for that big run, which is why his run of 4 million plus points is, I don't think it may never be repeated. It's probably the greatest Gallagher run ever. But then what happens at the end of it demonstrates how the flaw, the one aspect of his game that's not solid, and if he can perfect that, he could well be we could well pass the score he's sitting on now, 4.5. So I think technically, I think technically most players aren't much different from each other. What you've got to look at hit and miss ratio. So the best hit and miss ratio player is Stephen Krogman by far, than Andrew Barrow. Like, Krogman's like an 89% hit miss ratio, and Barrow sits in the high 80s. I think a high one for me might have been 83. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about concentration in the end. And I think Phil, that concentration.
Phil, I know
gives you consistency. So,
Phil, I know you and Andrew differ politically. Do you think Andrew is more likely to make Gallagher great again?
well, I think I wouldn't be shocked if Andrew put a score up there, but I'd be surprised if anyone passed Armando's score at the moment, with the exception of Krogman or Barrow. Like, I think there's a particularly Barrow and Gonzalez. They've bought a different type of game. It's like one of those things that's just lifted. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at Wes Copeland and Lakeman, and they just sort of left a lot of people behind. It's just different. You know, the game's still the same, but it's just psychologically different. Like, Phil, you're starting from such a
We're running out of time, Phil. But one more really, really important question.
Yeah,
I'm going to use.
Yeah, but quickly, yeah. I think Andrew could make Gallagher great again. There you go. To answer your question.
Well, thank you. Thanks for answering the question correctly. Most importantly, I'm going to use TriForce's words here. Is Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass?
Is what?
is Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass?
A bitch ass?
Yeah.
What? I mean, just mean like a bitch, like a bit of a whinger.
However you want to describe
it. Is that
it.
what that means?
Yeah, TriForce described Patrick Scott Patterson as a bitch ass, and John agreed that Patrick Scott Patterson was a bitch ass. So I was just wondering if you two agreed that Patrick Scott Patterson was a bitch ass.
Well, I don't know what bitch ass exactly means. Because it means he's a bit of a sook or a bit of a whiner, like a bit of a whingy kind. Yeah, I think he's. I don't know why Patrick behaves the way he does. Like, for someone who's left video game behind to sort of keep dragging him, like, you're either a part of the cult. I mean, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but he seems to like stirring up trouble. It seems to me that's I don't know if that's what TriForce meant by it, but he seems.
Phil, up until now, I thought we spoke the same language as people in Australia, but I don't know what you just said.
No, that's no. You ever see Austin Powers when he speaks English? I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of the same thing. There's Australian English, there's English, and there's American English.
Yeah, I just assumed that Phil just threw a bunch of terms at me that are the Queen's way to call somebody a bitch ass. But I don't really. But me being just a lowly Detroiter,
a lowly colonist.
Yeah, us colonists have no idea what the hell you just said, man.
Well, I don't know what bitch ass means. Does it mean that he's just somebody's bitch? Is that
Nobody
what it means?
knows what it means. Man. We're just. It's just you define. You do you, man. You define the bitch
Oh,
assness or lack there bitch assness of Patrick Scott Patterson.
Well, I've had run-ins with Patrick Scott Patterson on a couple of things, and I'm not sure where he's coming from sometimes. And one of the recent ones was with Galaga Forum regarding verifying a score, and even though we were verifying various scores and new world records and really high scores, he didn't chime in to say, "Hey, that's great, that's fantastic." But as soon as we did something that, as soon as we verified a score of someone's that he didn't like, which was Stephen Krogman's, he just came out of nowhere and started making all these claims about this, the staff and referees of Galaga Forum, which was essentially defamation of character.
Potentially bitch-assy behavior.
Yeah, like he was. I sent him a message, but he was making assumptions and what he was saying was just wrong. It was just not.
Well,
it's just not.
Well, Phil, I must
right
say,
at all.
I mean, to everyone listening out there, we have offered Patrick Scott Patterson an opportunity to come on the show many times past. I am not calling Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass, but 3 straight guests have called Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass. So if you would ever like to come on,
Phil may have called him a bitch ass. We're still not completely sure.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get an Australian translator in to find out exactly what Phil said. But I'm chalking it up as 3 people have called Patrick Scott Patterson a bitch ass tonight. So if he would ever like to come on the show and speak to why he is or isn't a bitch ass, I would be more than happy to have him on freely, and he could tell his side of the story.
Well, I think
in the most un-bitch ass way possible.
Well, he was a referee, as you all know, for Twin Galaxies, and he was there at the time at sort of the high points of Donkey Kong and the King of Kong and Chasing Ghosts and all the all the with it for that sort of late 2000s, early 2010 sort of time. And the thing is that the thing that I find I've seen posts of him saying that, there were referees doing dodgy stuff and they were doing this, it was all bad and that. And I think, well, you were part of it still.
Right.
It's like saying, there was so much bad going on in the neo-Nazi group I was a member of. And you think, well, hang on, you were culpable then. You were part of this group. So he's sort of saying he wants to throw all these people under the bus. And he's saying, I was there and all this bad stuff was going down and I tried this and it was all going down. So he sort of makes an argument that he wanted to make change, but he remained there. And now he just seems to have pissed on all these people. But my take on it, if all that's true, what he's saying, then he's just as culpable for remaining there. If I walked into a group and people started saying stuff that I didn't agree with, I think I'd just turn around and leave again. I'm not going to be a part of this scene.
Right. Or at least pull out your smartphone and try to, get it on film and do something about it. Phil, I do not want to cut you off. I know you have a lot of important things to say, but we are out of time.
No worries, mate.
I do really appreciate you coming on the show. Appreciate everything you did. I do want to leave you with one final thought, and that's that cricket and soccer both suck.
Soccer, no.
Fair enough. and regardless of putting shit on cricket, I'm still going to send you that Gallagher badge when I find one.
Please do, buddy. Please do. Phil, I really appreciate you coming on,
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so
much.
Thanks,
Phil.
All right, Adam. So that has been
man, that was a
lot of words have been thrown out in this particular podcast. The pods have been cast.
I just I said it to you on the way in, and I've seen somebody mention it in our YouTube chat tonight, and I think I've mentioned it to you before. Is you want to take another caller, real quick?
Sure. Not really, but yes, sure. Let's do this.
All right. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, you're live on the XCast. What can we do for you?
I'm Ninglendo, the notorious Ninglendo, the controversial Ninglendo that's been brought up.
Isn't Glenn going to be on next week?
He is, but that's not about video games. Glenn Updike, political expert, is going to be on next week. This is Ninglendo,
okay,
video game expert.
He's a Trump supporter, so let's not stretch that political expert here.
Save that for next week. Ninglendo, video game expert. What can we do for you, buddy?
Well, I just wanted to clear the air on some of the things that was brought up on the show. I mean, I watched most of this tonight, and you guys got any questions for me, let me know, because I'm the one that had a little bit of a debate with TriForce the other night.
Right, and we tried to speak to that because it sounds like it was pretty. I didn't hear it. I admit I did not hear it, but it sounds like it was pretty testy, right?
Well, I was asking questions, and I was completely calm while asking questions. Not once did I get out of line and start name calling like some people did. But anyways, my main questions was, he made a video that night and people in this chat were asking questions and he would avoid like the important ones. And he made this long post and that's what he based his video about. And in that long post, he avoided critical information that was brought up in the dispute. I mean, if you're going to go back to the first page and bring up stuff on the first page, you should go through the entire dispute besides the first 3 pages and the last 3 pages, because there's been some information that has been brought up. So the main point is, if you go back to 2008, a guy named Kyle brings up this strategy. And what TriForce claims is that he's the one that came up with the secret strategy and he brought it to TG, which I corrected him instantly in that and said, no, he was not. Now, the link that I did read on that, like back and forth, was the wrong link. But the right link I linked earlier in your guys' chat. And to quote TriForce, this is why there should be no leeching and contra, period, in my opinion. This is after the person brought up the eyeball leeching strat. So this debunks his claim, both that he brought it to TG and he's the only one that knows the super secret strat. And why this is a problem is once you instantly tell somebody, like, you can't do this, and then go ahead and do it yourself, like, what are you to... That's pretty scummy.
No, that's a valid point. And Glenn, I don't want to cut you off, but know that you will be on in your different persona next week. And if you want to take a couple minutes next week when we talk about this to, throw some more data at us, we'd be happy to have it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I've broke down the math on this and made spreadsheets on what forward progression actually would constitute.
Hey Glenn,
I've done the math.
Hey Glenn, how about we do this? How about we do this next week? We'll talk to Ninglendo for part of the show, and then the rest of the show we'll hear Glenn up.
Talk to the real me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, like the first half, even if you're not live on video, be wearing like a Mario hat, like a hat with like either a red hat with an M or a green hat with an L, and then take it off and put your MAGA hat on.
Oh God!
All I got to do is switch that baby around on the other side.
Do you just have like an M that peels off of it?
Just wear your Brewers hat just the entire time. That'll be fine.
Well, that's funny because on the other side of my Brewers hat is a MAGA hat too.
No. Just
double build.
Just the Brewers hat,
dude. If you're gonna talk about Brewers, though, you're gonna get me thinking about those cheese curds that I had last time I was at the Brewers.
Oh, they're excellent.
Oh my God, so
excellent cheese curds.
But hey,
deep fried.
Glenn, I don't want to cut you off. It just the show's gone long. Appreciate you calling in, man. And
yeah, no problem.
And we'll
talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everybody out there checking out the show. And this is
well, hold on, we're not done yet.
We're not done. Okay,
yeah, I gotta get time here to cue up the music and everything though. Okay. But again, I just
thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. We'll talk to you next week. It's just somebody mentioned. I was thinking on the YouTube chat tonight is, how come we just can't get along and have fun gaming? I mean, is that what it all should boil down to?
Aren't video games supposed to be fun?
Yeah.
No, that really is what it is. And I know we're gonna get a bunch of grief that I don't know what we did wrong. Well, we'll find out. I'm sure we did everything wrong.
I don't know who's calling now. We're not taking any more calls.
Yes, sorry everybody. Please don't be offended.
Again, we come back on next week, 9 p.m. Eastern time, so we'll have the lines open next week.
Yeah, I mean, contact me. We're very available. If somebody has something legitimate to say, please, contact me this week. We'll get on. We'll talk. And I feel bad. We had 4 guests that we actually just cut short every one of them. I mean, Glenn, Phil, John, and TriForce were all still had more to say when we cut them off. So, my apologies. But we can get people on. We can do this. We can talk some more about this issue if need be.
Ultimately speaking, though, I mean, whether you're talking Billy Mitchell, whether you're talking, was it Todd Rogers, whether you're talking TriForce, I mean, haven't they all followed the rules though when it comes to submitting scores? Again, I'm an outsider. I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this.
You make a good point though. The rules have never been perfect, but they have changed drastically through the different reincarnations of Twin Galaxy. And I think reincarnation is a really good word to use because, truthfully, none of them are the same thing. There was Twin Galaxies under Walter Day. There's TGI. There was a few different incarnations of it in between. And now Jace Hall's Twin Galaxies that are very different from one another. And they are trying to compare the rules, compare the discrepancies between all of them, and quite frankly, it just isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what to say about it. I know the new people don't like Walter Day's old rules that are in the past, and I know the old people, or the old guard, I should say, are very against the community adjudication. I feel like it's really difficult to find common ground, and I think you make a good point, Adam, where the true common ground here is, God, aren't video games just supposed to be fun?
Yeah.
But it's more difficult than that. So, people take it more seriously, and hey, I think I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems, and I think it was John that brought it up tonight, that the way that high scores are brought about now, where you actually have to pay and.
You don't have to pay now.
You don't have to pay now,
No.
But
you did for a while.
But it is. Is it Jace Hall? I mean, it is his company.
Owner.
I mean, he can do whatever he wants with it. If somebody has
Absolutely.
if somebody has a problem with it, then go start your own, Twin Galaxies type of. I mean, it's
Adam. I agree with you. Listen,
nobody has a patent on video game world records. Anybody can go and start it.
I mean, I'll be honest. There's very few things Jace Hall has done that I've agreed with. It's nothing personal against the man, but I personally, as somebody linked to this, I don't like the direction he's taken it. I don't like the things he's done. But hey, if I don't like it, then maybe I should have bought Twin Galaxies.
Yeah.
But I didn't. He's the one that had the stones to throw his own cash down and buy it. So good for him. He can do what he wants. Bottom line.
I think it's shady in the past to make people pay to have your scores submitted.
I opposed it
I think
very much.
Yeah, I think I've heard of the voting system. It sounds like the voting system is that still around?
Yes.
It seems like that's incredibly shady.
Yeah.
A world record is a world record.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand. I mean, sure, it has to be verified and everything, but again, when you have had people in the past pay to have that verification, or when you have, when you can vote, for your friends or vote against your enemies, it's just, I don't know. I mean, we've seen that it can't be trusted now based off, the different cliques and and all the drama that happens with this. It doesn't seem like any of that's going to work.
And the idea that you would have to make somebody go back and do the feat that they did in the past is ludicrous. Truly, to me, it's no different. Right now, we went and got Wilt Chamberlain and said, "Hey, I don't believe you that you scored 100 points in a basketball game. You got to do it again." Well, Wilt Chamberlain can't score 100 points in an NBA game right now.
Yeah,
it can't be done. I mean, he's not that guy anymore. And that's true with a lot of these gamers, you know? I mean, gamers die. You know, I mean, the idea of having a world record means that it's there forever, you know? You set it and you get to walk away. Set it and forget it, man.
Yeah, that was what was that? The some type of slow cooker, right?
Yeah, Ron Popeil, man.
Oh yeah, that's
Ron
right.
Popeil, yeah.
Is he dead?
No, Ron Popeil's alive.
He's still alive?
I think Ron
Damn.
Popeil's alive, yeah.
Guy has some.
Oh yeah, the Bassomatic,
Guy has some longevity.
Oh yeah, the
Shit.
electric food dehydrator. Yeah, great. Cool. Oh, I love Ron Popeil. He's a bro.
I wasn't about the food dryer.
No, I always wanted the food dehydrator.
Why?
Never had one.
Why? So you could make your own jerky, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't just have to make beef jerky, man. You can make fish jerky, turkey jerky.
Oh, fish
chicken
jerky? The hell is wrong with you?
Chicken jerky, turkey jerky. You know, it's all there. It's all available for you. Hey, everybody. This has been an earful.
Yeah.
This podcast. That you know the pods have been casted in regards to this particular thing. I want to thank TriForce especially, but also Phil, John, and Glenn for chiming in, and whoever we didn't take the call from, or the myriad of calls we didn't take, we want to thank you and apologize for not being able to get you on, but it just the show wasn't set up for that today. We went over as it is, so thanks everybody for tuning in.
We'll be on again next week, Tuesday night, probably around 9:00. We'll have Glenn on again.
Yeah,
and,
Glenn is going to happen for sure. And if other people want to get on, maybe we can put aside. It's not something we had planned before, but we can put aside some time and get a few callers in if need be. We don't want to silence anybody here on this particular issue. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll catch you.
And if the
next week.
quote unquote bitch ass wants to call in too, I mean,
right?
so.
I mean, Patrick Scott Patterson. Listen, we got no quarrel here, man. We wanna hear what you have to say. If you have something to say, you've had a lot to say about me as an individual. You've had a lot to say about Adam as an individual.
Well, he hasn't said anything about me. I mean,
he actually has, man. You just don't pay attention.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's good for you for not paying attention. But listen, if Patrick Scott Patterson, Cat DeSpear, anybody else who is mentioned on this podcast wants to come on, we will let you talk. We will let you talk. We're not gonna bring you on here just to call you a bitch ass. We are going to bring you on here and let you talk. If you ever want to discuss this, like a couple of grown-ups, we'd appreciate it. But anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been a lot to handle, but we're out.
We'll see you next time.